Part 41. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu Xiaomao. Chapter 416. Chapter 402 400. Help my sister build a relationship. On the bumpy dirt road, Chen Lian looked at the gray sky through the car window. The gray sky was like the smoke rising from the burning of dark coal. As time went by, the road conditions got better and better, and the sky gradually became brighter. Chen Lian slowly rolled up the window, leaving all the memories of the platform under the gray sky. If you play this kind of character too often, sometimes it will really make you feel depressed. If you are immersed in the emotions of the character, you will be easily affected. If you are not immersed, you will feel sorry for such a script. It is sometimes difficult to be a good actor. Of course, being an unprofessional actor will not have such troubles. After Chen Lian returned to the capital, he rarely took out the script of Daming Palace and read it again. It is a very classic TV series. Of course, this classic needs to be compared. Compared with the 4 famous works produced in recent years, it is not so classic. If compared with those shoddy dramas later, it is indeed a classic. After reading all the scripts, Chen Lian felt that this time it was still a bit challenging. Xueshao, played in the early stage, was a loyal and good man, while Zhang Yizi, played in the later stage, was a profit-driven lunatic with no principles. However, it is not the change of the same character before and after, and it is actually not interesting. The images of both Zhang Yizi and Xueshao are a little thin. But this is a female drama, and the image of the male characters is not very good. Women are responsible for beauty and intelligence, and men only need to be stupid. This drama was not actually very popular in Chen Lian's memory. It seemed that it was a few years later when it became popular. In the study room, Chen Lian put down the script and felt a little resistant to the play. Maybe it was because he had just finished the performance and saw Jia Zhang's seriousness and his attitude towards making movies as a filmmaker. Now that he is reading the script of Daming Palace, I really want to throw the script into the trash. There are too many magical changes to history, and it seems really uncomfortable. At this time, Chen Myron knocked on the door and came in. When she saw the script in Chen Lian's hand, she smiled happily and said, "So serious. I read the script as soon as I came back." Chen Lian gave a muffled hum. Seeing her happy expression, he held back what he was saying, just to compensate her for not having a honeymoon and not having another marriage certificate. Beauty Chen could see that Chen Lian was not very interested, so she pursed her lips and said, "If you don't like it, don't act. Forget it, it's a rare opportunity to act in a drama." Chen Lian put his arm around Mei Chen's waist, slightly lifted her chin and said, "I'll give you a wedding in the drama." Speaking of this, Beauty Chen's face instantly became happy, and she said with a smile, "And I am the princess and you are the consort, so you are getting married." Chen Lian smiled and said, "More than just getting married, you, a princess, used your status to separate Xueshao and his wife alive, and even forced her to death. Then what's wrong? I'm going to snatch the man I like. That means I'm not a princess, otherwise I'd snatch it away from you now and give it to you." Chen Myron stopped mid-sentence, snorted and said, "Anyway, I like this drama, so this is my dream come true." Chen Lian glanced at the script on the table and sighed in his heart. Human beings are actually the same. When a man has power, he will use his privileges to snatch the woman he likes. It's actually the same thing when women have rights. Chen Lian actually doesn't have many scenes, and I haven't met anyone from the crew yet. However, I haven't filmed Chen Lian's scenes yet, so I'm not in a hurry to go to the crew. The same goes for Chen Myron, who is still busy arguing with Li Shui in the company. Originally, Chen Myron was planning to file a complaint with Chen Lian, but after thinking about it, she gave up. If Li Shui forced her to turn around and ask for help, how could she have the nerve to seize control of the company? Chen Lian knew all these things. Although Li Shui and Chen Miren did not tell him about these things, Li Dabai would report the latest situation to Chen Lian every day. Li Dabai was very smart this time and did not get involved in the fight between Li Shui and Chen Miren. It was like a professional manager coming to the family business. She didn't need to fight because it wasn't hers in the beginning anyway. What's more, Li Shui won't let her suffer, after all, she was the one who brought her out. In an apartment on the other side of the capital, Li Bingbing was bored and sitting on the sofa watching TV series. He turned to look at his sister who was doing work, hesitated for a while and said, "Why do you have to argue with Mr. Chen? She is Teacher Chen." "You don't understand, it has nothing to do with this," Li Shui replied without raising her head. She seemed to feel that the attitude of talking to her sister was not good, so she stopped what she was doing and said, "Since Mr. Chen asked me to do this, I must seize the opportunity. He will not prefer anyone just because Beauty Chen Chen is his woman." Li Bingbing sighed and said, "But the relationship between them is different after all. Even if you win, you will inevitably be targeted from behind in the future." Li Shui shook her head and said, "You don't understand Mr. Chen. He is not that kind of person. If he was a person who was easily influenced by women, he would not have what he has achieved now." "Then why did he take on the Daming Palace poem?" Li Bingbing asked directly. Li Shui. Li Bingbing looked at her silence, sighed inwardly, and decided to help her. Since Li Shui was missing a layer of relationship, he would help her make up for it. Li Bingbing still remembered how he treated Chen Lian when he first met and even gave him his business card. Later, he also heard Li Dabai say that Chen Lian would not give him his business card easily. "I guess Chen Lian has some thoughts about himself, probably." Li Bingbing subconsciously picked up the small mirror on the table and took a look at his face, feeling somewhat confident. Chen Lian has not gone to the company in the past few days. Li Shui has not given up yet, and Chen Miren has not given up yet. He still won't go. After going, people in the company will inevitably misunderstand his attitude. This time let's see which one of them has the ability. Anyway, the company can't become corrupt. Even if it becomes corrupt, it doesn't matter. You can open a new company at any time. Chen Lian got up early that day. After kissing Lu Xiaoli goodbye, he sent Qian to school and went to the studio. "It's been a long time since I visited Bo Qing, and I don't know what her condition is like." Chen Lian feels that he is cruel to Bai Qing. If there is anyone in the world who makes Chen Lian feel the most guilty, it must be Bo Qing. Arriving at the door of the studio, Chen Lian just pushed the door open and saw Bo Qing, wearing a white spring dress, lying on a rocking chair and asleep, with an unfinished book in his hand. Chen Lian walked over lightly, looked at the empty rocking chair next to Bai Qing, and sat on it, squinting at the warm sun, and slowly closed his eyes and fell asleep. The sun hanging in the sky slowly sank, and the temperature in the small courtyard began to drop. Chen Lian felt vaguely like there was an extra blanket on his body. When he opened his eyes, he realized that the sky was already dark. Bai Qing was sitting next to her reading a book. There was a lamp hanging on the bare branches. The warm yellow light shining on her reminded Chen Lian of a painting he had seen. Behind him was the golden light of the kind-faced Bodhisattva. The years have deposited only a gentler and gentler temperament on Bai Qing. The bold and passionate Bai Qing a few years ago seems to be only in memory. Seeing that Chen Lian was awake, Bo Qing put down the book in his hand and turned to look at him, with only tenderness in his dark eyes. Chen Lian felt relieved and lay back down again. The rocking chair rocked gently, and his eyes kept shaking along with it. "Are you hungry? Do you want to eat?" Bai Qing put his hand on the back of Chen Lian's hand and asked softly. Chen Lian held it with his backhand and felt the temperature of Bai Qing's body. After a long time, he said, "Okay, I want to eat wontons." The wontons were delicious, and Bai Qing was very gentle. This night was like a gurgling stream, nourishing Chen Lian's heart bit by bit. Time is sometimes like a stream in spring, disappearing before you know it. Chen Lian forgot what day he came to the studio. When he left, the cars parked outside were covered in dust. 1999 seems to be a very peaceful year. Everyone is eagerly looking forward to the arrival of the new century and silently gathering energy. The VCD industry at Leixin is about to be put down. Only the last two production lines are still in production. The advertisements that have been bombarded on TV stations for 2 consecutive years have been visibly reduced in the new year. It was replaced by a real Kung Fu advertisement from BBK VCD, and the leader of the VCD industry changed overnight. Leixin's industrial transfer has been completed. VCD is no longer the future development center. The research laboratory in the factory has also been expanded. There are more and more high-end talents. Leixin has transformed from an assembly factory into a starting technology company. There has been a lot of foreign investment coming to China this year, but most of them have not made any move. They have not yet adapted to the domestic market. They even arrogantly believe that they are big foreign brands and will gain the trust of consumers as long as they appear in the Chinese market. In the end, the market will teach them how to behave, and these foreign companies will also join the CCTV advertising auction. The changes in business have been drastic, but nothing major has happened. In comparison, the film and television industry is much more depressed. The studio of Beijing Film Studio is not busy this year. Even though it is the largest studio in Asia, there are much fewer crews here to shoot scenes than in previous years. The only one that is in full swing is the Daming Palace CI crew. The filming task here is very heavy, and there are many scenes to be shot every day. Li Xiaohong attaches great importance to this drama. Investors have invested so much money. If it does not succeed in the end, her reputation will fall to the freezing point. When Chen Lian came here, he was welcomed by everyone on the crew. The biggest influencer on the crew was also an investor, so no one would ignore him. Li Xiaohong took the initiative to wait in front of the studio. When he saw Chen Lian, he immediately greeted him with a smile. "Teacher Chen, we finally meet. I am Li Xiaohong." The crew didn't think anything was wrong when they saw the normally strict director like this. Maybe they would have been more flattering. There are only a few young actors who are quite secretly happy. You actually know how to laugh. I thought you only know how to curse. Hu Jing looked at Chen Lian in the crowd, wanting to go up and say hello, but she didn't dare. Anyone here would be bigger than her. Even if you want to flatter someone, you still have to queue up. However, Hu Jing noticed that Mr. Zhou was missing. Shouldn't the little sisters be with Chen Lian at this time? After Chen Lian shook hands with Li Xiaohong and said a few words about the scene, he turned to look at Gui Yele, who played Wu Zetian, and said politely, "Hello, Teacher Gui, I really like your play. I hope we can work together well this time." A trace of surprise flashed in Gui Yele's eyes. He didn't expect Chen Lian to be so polite to him, so he smiled and complimented him a few times. After she finished speaking, Chen Lian said, "Mr. Zhou told me before that you took good care of her when we were on the set. Thank you." Only then did Gui Yele realize what the reason was. She remembered the movie Nuerhong she had played with Mr. Zhou before. "I did teach Mr. Zhou a lot at that time, but I didn't expect that my momentary kindness would be reciprocated here." Li Xiaohong looked around but did not see Mr. Zhou, and was a little confused, thinking that she was deliberately avoiding suspicion. After a group of people entered the studio, Chen Lian saw Mr. Zhou sitting there and resting, so he took the initiative to walk over and hit her on the head with a smile under everyone's gaze. "Why are you sitting here alone?" Mr. Zhou raised his head and looked at Chen Lian with a childlike smile. Then he stopped his smile and said seriously, "I'm looking for a good mood. I didn't go out to greet you. Are you unhappy?" Chen Lian smiled and knelt down and looked into Mr. Zhou's eyes and said, "What are you talking about? Outsiders need that kind of thing. If you want to welcome you, I will welcome you. Mr. Joe blinked his big eyes, and then said with satisfaction, then I will forgive you. Forgive? Chen Lian asked funnily, I didn't do anything wrong, right? Mr. Joe snorted and said, the man I fell in love with ended up marrying you, Miss Chen. I can't be angry. Chen Lian smiled hoarsely, rubbed her head and said, who told you not to grow up? You will always be like a child. I'm already 25, okay, Mr. Joe snorted unconvinced. The 25-year-old Zhou Gongzi plays the role of the 14-year-old quirky typing, and there is no violation at all. How can this be justified? But Mr. Zhou is so spiritual that Chen Lian feels that even Gong Li can't compare to her to a certain extent. The rest of the crew watched Chen Lian and Mr. Zhou flirting with each other as if no one was around. No one dared to come up to them. They just watched silently, admiring Chen Lian to the extreme in their hearts. If you are rich, talented, and have status, you are so handsome and you can bend down to coax girls. No wonder girls like it, but even men may not be able to handle it. There were several male actors with feminine looks who looked at Chen Lian and felt something was wrong. Of course I don't want to seduce Chen Lian, but I regard him as an idol. This is the true nature of a man. Li Bingbing also came to the set specially today, but there were always people around Chen Lian, and she didn't find a chance to talk to her. Now Li Shui and Chen Miran are facing each other in the company, and the situation is getting more and more ugly. If she could deal with Chen Lian before Chen Miran joined the team and give Li Shui some leverage, maybe Li Shui could take this opportunity to completely handle the company's affairs. In this way, Li Shui will be able to completely let go of her hands and feet to do things in the future. In Li Bingbing's eyes, her sister has always been smarter and more capable than herself, so she must create good conditions for her sister. Take down Chen Lian. Li Bingbing encouraged himself mentally. Chen Lian and Zhou Gongzi chatted for a while, and Li Xiaohong came to call them over. Chen Lian joined the group, so naturally he had to meet all the actors and have a small meeting. Otherwise, the subsequent scenes would not be easy to film. Hu Jing had been with Mr. Zhou during this period of time on the set. At this time, she took the initiative to approach Mr. Zhou and sit next to her, one body away from Chen Lian. Chen Lian saw her nod slightly, and then stopped paying attention. A flash of disappointment flashed through Hu Jing's heart. Did she not recognize herself? She had heard Mei Ting and Zhang Ziyi talk about what happened when they met Chen Lian, and she had been wondering if Chen Lian would recognize her and call her by her name. But it doesn't seem strange. After all, they only spoke once and just introduced themselves. Hu Jing secretly glanced at Mr. Zhou, thinking that she would introduce herself later. I hope Mr. Zhou won't misunderstand him. He just wants to get to know him and has absolutely no other intentions. This is the 400th chapter. I didn't expect it to take so long to write. Let's commemorate it. If you have tickets, you can also vote. There will be a bonus for double monthly votes. Thank you all for your support for so long. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 417. Chapter 403 401. Stunning the entire crew. The crew's meeting didn't say much, it was like a self-introduction meeting just for Chen Lian. The actors in the crew took turns introducing themselves to Chen Lian, and then talked about the roles they played in the play. Chen Lian didn't feel uncomfortable in such an atmosphere, but Hu Jing and Mr. Zhou felt a little unable to sit still when they were sitting next to him. Those polite and flattering words seemed to be spoken to her, and it was the first time for Hu Jing to see such a scene, and she deeply realized the gap in status between Chen Lian and the people present. It turns out that this is the entertainment industry. Hu Jing has a new understanding of this circle in her heart. The self-introduction meeting ended quickly. Chen Lian looked at so many actors and could remember only a few. The atmosphere was far inferior to the crew on the platform before. Chen Lian doesn't reject such an atmosphere, but he doesn't like it either. He originally had no expectations for this drama, and now he has no expectations anymore. Just be a dishonest actor for once. Anyway, there are not many actors who are capable. If Chen Lian really exerts his full strength, I guess not many of them can take the role. Thinking about it this way, he is actually quite dedicated. He takes care of other actors and lowers his own requirements for the sake of the harmony of the whole drama. Chen Lian's first scene is at night, where Xue Xiao and Taiping meet for the first time. It is also the most classic scene in the play. It feels like you will miss Yang Guo for the rest of your life when you first meet him. Chen Lian had no filming for the time being, so he sat aside and waited. Watching Mr. Zhou and Gui Yelei acting, he felt a little awkward. The Shakespearean dialogue style in a costume drama like this seems a bit inconsistent for the first time, and many of the characters' dialogues are not very realistic. After watching it for a while, Chen Lian lost interest and left the studio to smoke. As soon as Chen Lian lit his cigarette, Li Bingbing appeared from behind, looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "Teacher Chen, long time no see. You just introduced yourself, I thought it was our first time meeting." Chen Lian's attitude towards Li Bingbing is much better than before. It's all for Li Shui's sake, and capable employees will naturally be valued by Chen Lian. Li Bingbing said with a smile, "Everyone has introduced me, so I can't be special." "That's right, you are still a newcomer now," Chen Lian asked while smoking a cigarette. "I remember you filmed Zhang Yuan's film Go Home for the Chinese New Year. Didn't you mean to participate in the Singapore Film Festival?" Li Bingbing immediately explained, "Director Zhang Yuan plans to attend the Venice Film Festival first and then the Singapore Film Festival." Chen Lian nodded. No wonder he didn't hear Li Shui mention it later, but there are still several months before the Venice Film Festival. "I can't participate in this year's Singapore Film Festival and can only wait until next year. The entry requirements of the three major European film festivals are that the premiere must be at their own film festival. If you go home for the New Year and attend Venice, you can only keep it secret." Chen Lian suddenly remembered something, turned to look at Li Bingbing and asked, "Did you get shot again by the above when you came home during the Chinese New Year?" Li Bingbing nodded, feeling a little helpless that he had finally made a good film but it still couldn't be released. Chen Lian couldn't help but laugh and said with a smile, "Zhang Yuan too is also very stubborn. He banned one film after another. This time, Xieying Film Studio may also feel the pain of China film. After Zhang Yuan made Beijing Bastards, he made several documentaries. Finally, the ban was lifted. He collaborated with China Film Studio to make East Palace, West Palace. As a result, East Palace, West Palace was banned. Last year, the ban was lifted and he collaborated with 11 Film Studio, but it was banned again. This guy really hasn't changed at all. If that's the case, why do he still insist on cooperating with those film studios? Isn't it good to be an independent filmmaker?" Chen Lian couldn't understand Zhang Yuan's thinking. He just sympathized with Li Bingbing. He didn't want to act at first but was forced to do it. Now that it's finished, it can't be released. Li Bingbing felt helpless. If the movie was not banned and could be released, plus Li Shui said that he would help her get the award, she might be able to become an instant hit without having to play a small supporting role now. Chen Lian turned to look at her and said with a smile, "Don't worry, there will be opportunities in the future. If Li Shui does it well this time, you don't have to worry about running out of scenes." After saying that, Chen Lian stamped out the cigarette butt and went back. Li Bingbing was stunned for a moment and wanted to stop Chen Lian, but he was already far away. Li Bingbing thought about Chen Lian's words and understood how important this opportunity was to Li Shui. As a sister, should he wait for his sister to take care of him in the future? We must help her win this time. Do my best. Li Bingbing took a deep breath and chased after Chen Lian. But when Li Bingbing caught up, she had no chance. She looked at Chen Lian and Mr. Zhou sitting together, talking and laughing, and turned around silently and left. Sometimes the opportunity is just for a moment, and if you don't seize it, you will miss it. Li Bingbing seemed to suddenly understand Li Shui's feelings when she forced him to film, and also understood why she was determined to go against Chen Miran this time. If you fail to seize the opportunity when it comes, you may not have it in the future. Li Bingbing looked back at Chen Lian and made up his mind to create opportunities even if he didn't have the chance. While Li Xiaohong was resting, Li Bingbing ran over and asked for his shooting schedule in the name of Chen Lian. After secretly writing it down, he sent it to Chen Lian. Neither Li Xiaohong nor Chen Lian felt anything was wrong. They both thought it was the other party's arrangement. They had no idea that this was Li Bingbing's cleverness. Soon the night fell, and Chen Lian's first scene was about to come. In this film, there was only one scene between him and Mr. Zhou, so Chen Lian was very serious. Mr. Zhou is also preparing very seriously. He doesn't know when he will cooperate with Chen Lian next time. The setting of Daming Palace is quite good, with a hint of the prosperity of the Tang dynasty. After witnessing his mother killing concubine Wei, Taiping felt that his world had changed. He had nightmares at night, dreaming that his mother was strangling him and saying it was all for your own good, while trying to strangle her to death. The young Taiping was frightened and woke up, and found herself in Chikui. She was in a terrible mood. Her playmate sister Wei chatted with her and told her how wonderful the outside world was, with beautiful lantern festivals and many other things. The imperial dining room also provides delicious snacks. Taiping was so moved that she disguised herself and slipped out of the palace under the leadership of Sister Wei, but she didn't expect that this would be the beginning of her nightmare. Hu Jing and Mr. Zhou, dressed in men's clothing, looked extremely cute. Chen Lian looked at them and felt that the two of them really acted out the innocence of children who grew up in a deep palace. Soon the scene of the Lantern Festival will begin. Chen Lian changed his clothes and waited aside. This was Chen Lian's first time wearing ancient costume, and he felt a little awkward. But he looks really handsome. Both the makeup artist and the surrounding extras said that Chen Lian looks so good looking, like a gentle and jade-like aristocratic prince in ancient times. When a man praises Chen Lian, he doesn't know whether it's true or not, but when a woman praises her and can't bear to take her eyes away, that means it's true. Hearing a few girls praising Chen Lian, Master Zhou, who was already preparing to enter, turned around and smiled at him, stuck out his tongue playfully, and then pulled Hu Jing, who was in a daze, into the street scene that had been set up. The bustling night scene, bustling markets, and masked pedestrians coming and going all made Taiping very excited. It was her first time out of the palace and her first time seeing the prosperity of the Tang dynasty. Two teenage children were full of curiosity about everything around them. Each of them chose a mask. The stall owner introduced to them the origin of this mask, which was based on the Kunlun slave. Taiping liked the novel stories and masks so much that he immediately wanted to buy them. However, neither Taiping nor Sister Wei brought any money. In the end, Taiping exchanged his jade pendant for 2 masks. Taiping didn't even know how much his jade pendant was worth, but he just felt that there were many of them in the East and West Palace. 2 little girls were laughing and playing in the street wearing masks, but there were too many people coming and going, and they were separated when they turned a corner. Taiping was panicked, she was extremely scared, like an abandoned child, crying and calling Sister Wei as she stumbled around in the crowd looking for someone. Taiping, who was panicked, only remembered that Sister Wei's mask was that of Kunlun slave. When he saw someone wearing a Kunlun slave mask, he would go up and lift it, completely unaware that the clothes and appearance of the other person did not look like Sister Wei. Taiping, who admitted to the mistake of several people in a row, was so frightened that he called Sister Wei over and over with tears. Tears flowed down her fair and cute little face, and her smart eyes looked like a child's panic and helplessness. She looked so lovable. In the direction in front of Taiping, Chen Lian put on a mask and walked into the crowd. The entanglement of the fates of Xueshao and Taiping was about to begin at this moment. Taiping wiped his tears and saw a man wearing a Kunlun slave mask in front of him and ran over to take off his mask. Kunlun slave's mask slowly opened, and a masculine and handsome face appeared in front of Taiping, who stared at him blankly. At that moment, I suddenly forgot everything around me, the surrounding sounds disappeared, everything became so slow, I only felt my heart beating so fast. Xueshao looked at Taiping's tear-filled face and was inexplicably stunned for a moment. Then he reached out and took his mask from Taiping's hand. He looked at Taiping with a gentle smile and asked, "Did you admit the wrong person, already?" Taiping forgot to cry and that he was lost. The only thing in his sight was the man in front of him. Xueshao looked at Taiping and asked with a smile, "Are you looking for someone?" Taiping suddenly came back to his senses, a hint of girlish shyness flashed in his eyes, the corners of his mouth raised slightly and then lowered, he looked at Xueshao and said shyly, "I'm looking for a Kunlun slave." Kunlun slave. Taiping looked at Xueshao's serious explanation and the gentle smile on his face. He lowered his head shyly, then raised it again and continued to look at him, as if this person would disappear after leaving his sight. Pedestrians were coming and going around, and the sound of hawking was endless, but Taiping only had eyes for this man, and could only hear what he said. Xueshao looked at the mask on her head and continued, "The faces behind the masks are usually different. Don't you also wear a mask on your head?" Taiping pursed his lips and smiled shyly, touching the mask on his head sheepishly. Xueshao didn't pay attention to this episode, looked at her and said, "Can I go?" Taiping wrung his hands together, pursed his lips and nodded slightly. Xueshao smiled and walked away with the mask. Taiping stood there and looked back at his back. Xueshao, who took a few steps forward, seemed to feel something. He also looked back and met Taiping's eyes through the crowd. Taiping looked at Xueshao's leaving figure with a smile on his lips. He turned around and walked forward subconsciously. The tears on his face had long dried. He raised his hand to touch the mask on his head, smiling sweetly and shyly. The fate of the two people seemed to be doomed the moment they looked back at each other. After Chen Lian walked into the crowd and disappeared from the camera, he let out a breath. When he came to the sidelines and was about to go around to watch Mr. Zhou's performance, he heard someone whispering that the performance he had just performed with Mr. Zhou was so amazing. Soon the last shot of Mr. Zhou was finished, and the studio immediately burst into applause. Everyone seemed to be amazed by the performances of Chen Lian and Mr. Zhou. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly, he was really not used to this. Many people on the set didn't even see his performance, they just applauded him casually. His performance just now was not as good as Mr. Zhou, he acted really well. But those who saw the show really felt that the performance was so good. Those who had been hiding behind the camera were stunned for a long time, and finally they were awakened by the applause. Li Xiaohong stood up and couldn't help but said, "Young Master Zhou did a great job, and the heart-thumping girl was played so vividly." The moment Chen Lian took off his mask was stunning, and it will definitely fascinate many female audiences. Hu Jing nodded crazily beside her. She felt her heart had stopped beating just now. Mr. Zhou's performance just now seemed to be her. Too bad, it's a heart-pounding feeling. Hu Jing touched her hot cheek and suddenly thought of Zhang Ziyi's expression when she talked about Chen Lian after returning from the dam. "Are you and your sister falling in love with the same man?" Hu Jinghu fanned her little hands and tried to calm herself down. She would be filming a scene with Mr. Zhou later. Don't play Sister Wei as Taiping, who is in love for the first time. How can you face Mr. Zhou like that? Hu Jing covered her hot little face, not daring to look at Chen Lian anymore. She lowered her head and silently chanted calmness in her heart, but when she closed her eyes, she always thought of Chen Lian's face. It seems like I can't forget it after it's over. Hu Jing, come here and prepare for filming the next scene. The sound of the steward's voice sounded, and Hu Jing ran over with a blushing face. When Li Xiaohong saw her like this, she looked like a red star, and felt a little bit dumbfounded. Is Chen Lian that powerful? Li Xiaohong turned to look at the other little girls playing palace maids, and found that they all looked the same, feeling happy and helpless at the same time. Such an effect shows that Chen Lian acted well, and the scene was stunning enough, but how could the crew film the scene if this was the case? Li Xiaohong looked at Hu Jing, who was trying hard to adjust her emotions and did not dare to raise her head, and immediately shouted loudly. Calm down. Why are you so dazed? Li Xiaohong's scolding immediately turned Hu Jing's heartbeat into fright, and the charming fantasy in her heart disappeared instantly. However, he didn't dare to look at Chen Lian anymore, for fear that he would not be able to take it back if he took one more look. Is this an entanglement between the fates of Xuexiao and typing, or between Chen Lian and himself? Suddenly I hate myself so much. I hate that I am not Princess Typing, otherwise I would definitely take Chen Lian home. I suggest you go and watch this part. Mr. Zhou's performance was so good at the end of the 5th episode of Penguin Video's Daming Palace Ci. Mr. Zhou's performance was so good I can't describe that feeling. I don't feel good about it. Talent cannot describe 1/10 of the charm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 418. Chapter 404-402. Capture Chen Lian within 3 days. In the busy studio, Chen Lian asked the makeup artist to remove his makeup in the dressing room. The headband was too tight. Chen Lian felt like his scalp was about to be torn off. Costume dramas are really not friendly to male actors. The makeup artist carefully tore off Chen Lian's wig, fearing that too much movement would hurt him. Teacher Chen, you are so handsome in costume. You should film more costume dramas. Chen Lian looked at himself in the mirror and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He was indeed handsome, but he looked handsome regardless of whether he was wearing costumes or not. After the hood was carefully taken off, before Chen Lian could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard the makeup artist next to him breathe a sigh of relief first. Chen Lian couldn't help but smile and asked, "Why are you more nervous than me? I can't eat people." "If you don't know it, others will," the makeup artist whispered, secretly pouted at Chen Lian, and motioned for him to look aside. Chen Lian turned his head and looked over, and found that Myron Chen had arrived at some unknown time. "I'll take you home." Chen Myron smiled and shook the key in her hand. "Isn't this causing trouble?" Chen Lian glanced at the makeup artist and he went out immediately. When the makeup artist went out, Chen Lian said, "I won't go there tonight. Mr. Zhou wraps up tonight, so I'll treat her to dinner to celebrate." Chen Myron was stunned for a moment and frowned and said, "Will she wrap up tonight? I thought it would be tomorrow." Chen Lian nodded, looked at her and said, "When you join the team in a few days, can't we start working together every day and go home together?" "That's quite nice." Chen Myron murmured in a low voice, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Okay, I'll go say hello to Xiaohong and wish you a happy evening." Seeing Mei Chen leave without any delay, Chen Lian was a little surprised. When did he become so reasonable? On the set, Mr. Zhou was filming his last scene. When some staff members saw Myron coming over, a thought suddenly came to their mind: will the two people fight later? Of course it won't happen in a fight. Chen Myron is being careful now so she won't do anything stupid. She just went over to say hello to Li Xiaohong. At this time, Mr. Zhou also completed the last set of shots. He turned around and saw Beauty Chen appearing, and snorted softly. No rules. In the drama, he snatched away Xuexiao, but in reality, he came to snatch Chen Lian. Hu Jing next to her heard Mr. Zhou snort and couldn't help but swallowed a sip of water. The real palace fight was coming. Will there be a fight? But the emperor was also there. If he wanted to fight, it would depend on the occasion. Chen Lian came out of the dressing room at this time. Chen Myron glanced at Chen Lian from the corner of her eye, and with a smile on her face, she walked up to Mr. Zhou and took her hand and said, "You acted really well, but you left me with a big problem." Mr. Zhou also smiled brightly and said, "Sister, you are joking. You are the senior in the acting profession, and I still have to learn. Seniors are seniors. What does it mean to specifically talk about actors? Who do you want to click? It's amazing that you had a good relationship with Chen Lian first." Chen Myron kept smiling, held Mr. Zhou's hand a little harder, and then said with a smile, "It will be completed tonight. Congratulations. Don't worry, sister. I will take over this good job." Mr. Zhou chuckled lightly, leaned over slightly and whispered, "Can you handle it? And tonight is still mine." After saying this, Mr. Zhou let go of Chen Myron's hand, grabbed his palace skirt and ran towards Chen Lian with a smile. Chen Myron looked at Mr. Zhou's back and wanted to hit him angrily. Why couldn't she catch him? "You little dwarf. I even picked up the baby. I'm calling it a day. What are we going to eat tonight?" Mr. Zhou said playfully, holding Chen Lian's hand and shaking it. Chen Lian glanced at Mei Chen, who had an ugly face, and gave her a helpless look. "Who asked you to move up on your own? It's okay now." Chen Myron looked at Mr. Zhou's appearance, squeezed out a smile and said to Chen Lian, "Remember to go home tomorrow. Xiao calls out that he misses you every day." Chen Lian, "We just took the kid out to play yesterday, okay." These two people really didn't give in at all. Chen Lian didn't bother to look any further and just pulled the angry Mr. Zhou away. "Just protect her. What's the point of her coming here today? She doesn't follow the rules," Mr. Zhou said with some temper. Chen Lian pinched Mr. Zhou's little face and said, "I'm not protecting her, I'm protecting you. I'm not just leaving her there. Okay, I'll take off my makeup first and take you to a big dinner." More than an hour later, Mr. Zhou let go of his two little hands, spit out what was in his mouth, panted slightly and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Is this the big meal you are talking about? Just tell me whether it tastes good or not," Chen Lian said ruthlessly. Mr. Zhou wrinkled his nose and snorted, then held his two little hands again, lowered his head and continued to eat. After working for a long time, Mr. Zhou was full and felt that he didn't want to eat for the next few days. However, he still had the stick in his hand. The stick would not be in the hands of Chen Myron until the end of the night. Chen Lian didn't know what Mr. Zhou was trying to do, but since he didn't want to let go, he continued. "In the TV series, I, Xue Xiao, will never have the chance to play opposite Xiao Taiping again, so cherish the opportunity now." The next day, Chen Lian got up early and went to the crew. When filming, he had to look like he was filming. It didn't matter whether he was relaxed or not when he was acting. He had to have a working attitude. However, Chen Myron is not here today, and her role has not yet come. She will not make her grand appearance until Taiping and Xue Xiao get married. When Chen Lian went to the crew, he didn't just wait. After arriving, Li Xiaohong arranged for the crew to film his scene first. Today's play is also simple, with a total of 4 scenes. In the Daming Palace, Wu Zaishan Suanzi called Xue Xiao into the palace and asked him how many ranks he had, how many fiefs he had, and how many houses he had. Xue Xiao answered one by one, and then he was granted an official title, and was rewarded with fertile land and a house. He returned home with a puzzled face. This was the first time that Chen Lian acted opposite Gui Yele. Both of them were holding back, and the filming went smoothly. They only passed 2 scenes. After this scene, Chen Lian went to another scene to film another scene. Xue Xiao received the reward, so he naturally wanted to go home to find out. Who would have thought that when he returned home and saw the eunuch from the palace coming to announce the decree, Xue Xiao knelt down to receive the reward without knowing why. After the eunuch from the palace left, He turned to look at his parents and asked what was going on. Xue Xiao thought it was his brother who won the battle outside, so he came to reward him. But when he asked, he found out that the princess was attracted to him. Xue Xiao was greatly puzzled. He was already married and had never met the princess, so how could he be attracted to him? I already have a family. If I marry a princess, what will Hui Niang do? Xue Xiao argued in disbelief. Xue's mother, who was sitting on the high platform, suddenly burst into tears and covered her face with sadness. Xue Xiao quickly stepped forward to show concern, but saw a piece of white silk lying on the table. Xue Xiao grabbed Bai Ling and suddenly became frightened, and asked loudly, "What is this? Is this also a gift from the emperor? Where is Huaniang?" Xue Xiao suddenly understood. He grabbed Bai Ling and shouted Huaniang's name as he stumbled to find his married wife. After this performance, Chen Lian looked at the Bai Ling in his hand and felt that privileged people were too scary. The imperial power in feudal society really determined your life or death. Fortunately, I have never provoked such a powerful person, otherwise my good sisters and sisters would be in misery. Thinking of this, Chen Lian couldn't help but sneer. It's almost the 21st century. Where does the imperial power come from? Even if there is such a person, he can't see it. While Chen Lian was resting, a girl in purple robe came over. She looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen." Chen Lian turned back to look at her and saw that it was Li Mei, the actress who played Hui Niang, and asked, "What's wrong? Has filming started?" Li Mei shook her head, looked at the chair next to Chen Lian and asked, "Can I sit here? It's my first time acting with you. I want to get familiar with it first, but I'm afraid I won't be able to let go later." "Of course, please take a seat," Chen Lian said with a smile. Xue Xiao and Hui Niang don't have many scenes, just a few scenes. They have to be filmed today, and Li Mei will wrap up after filming. There are many actors like Li Mei in Daming Palace, and they were basically all filmed over a few days. None of the actors is a minor actor, so people can't wait forever. Li Mei is an actress in a repertory troupe, so she doesn't have to worry about her acting skills. She chatted with Chen Lian for a few words, eliminated the awkwardness between them, and left with a smile. Chen Lian didn't pay attention. Just as he was about to get up and go to see how the preparations were going on the set, he saw a little girl appearing in front of him. Teacher Chen Hujing looked at Chen Lian with some embarrassment. Her role had been completed like young Master Zhou, but she still came here today. Chen Lian naturally knew who this was, but didn't Hujing finish her work just like Mr. Zhou? Looking at Hujing's red face, Chen Lian asked doubtfully, "What's the matter?" "I want to ask you to sign for me," Hujing said sheepishly, feeling like she was betraying her friend. "The autograph is just an excuse. If you really want it, you can get it in front of Mr. Zhou yesterday. Why wait until the deal is finalized and then come here alone?" Poor excuses will naturally be seen through at a glance, but Chen Lian didn't intend to refuse. It was just a matter of writing a few names. "Where's the signature?" Hujing immediately took out some posters she had prepared and said, "Just sign here." Chen Lian took it over and took a look, and saw that they were all movie posters that he starred in, such as Fenjiao, Midnight Song, Singer, Red River Valley, Winner, and even Christ of Nanjing. Except for the extreme cold that has never been released in public, all the movie posters that have been released are here. Chen Lian took the pen handed over by Hujing, signed each one on it, and specially added a message to wish Hujing all the best in her career. As Chen Lian was writing this, he suddenly realized that he had made so many movies in the past few years, and 3 of them were still unreleased. Hujing stood aside timidly, looking at Chen Lian's letter wishing Hujing all the best in her career, and couldn't help but feel happy. Teacher Chen remembered her name. When Chen Lian signed the final Nanjing Christ, Hujing suddenly spoke. "Teacher Chen, can you write another congratulatory message on the last poster?" Chen Lian stopped what he was doing, turned around and said, "Okay, what do you want to write?" "Just write." Hu Jing bit her lip to muster up the courage and said, "Is it okay to write about love?" Chen Lian nodded slightly and said, "Okay." So I wrote on the poster, wishing Hu Jing to meet her husband and grow old together. Hu Jing secretly looked at Chen Lian's profile from the side, feeling quite complicated in her heart. She has to meet her beloved. After meeting you, I'm afraid I won't be able to fall in love with my beloved. Alas, once you see Lian, you will miss your whole life. Hu Jing now understands typing's mood. She feels that the script is so well written and the girl's love at first sight is so profoundly portrayed. Hate yourself again for not being typing. Although typing didn't win Xuexiao's heart, he did win his people. The strong twisting melon is not sweet, but it really quenches your thirst. Hu Jing looked at Chen Lian's delicious melon and really wanted to take a bite to quench her thirst. After Chen Lian signed his name, he looked up and saw Hu Jing opening her mouth to bite someone. He couldn't help but take a step back, looked at her and said, "Were you bitten by a dog? Go to the hospital for an injection as soon as possible." Huh? Hu Jing was stunned for a moment, then she suddenly realized what she was doing. Her face immediately turned red and she quickly explained, "I'm just hungry and distracted. I didn't want to bite you." Seeing Hu Jing's explanation with a blushing face, Chen Lian couldn't help but laugh. This girl was so confused that she was a little cute. Seeing Chen Lian smiling, Hu Jing was so embarrassed that she wanted to crawl into the cracks in the ground. She was not like this usually, so why did she see Chen Lian like this? "Go and eat when you're hungry. The crew should serve lunch soon." Chen Lian looked at her and said, "If you're not used to eating box lunches, I can treat you to a meal." Hu Jing originally put her hands on the poster and was about to take it and leave. When Chen Lian said that she was being treated to a meal, she silently took it back. "If you can't eat Chen Lian, you can just eat his food." When the room fell into silence, Li Xiaohong called Chen Lian over to take pictures. Hu Jing breathed a sigh of relief. She was just worried about how to agree to Chen Lian. After Chen Lian went to take a set of shots, he returned to his restroom. When he saw Hu Jing was still there, he knew that she wanted to have a meal. Chen Lian smiled and said, "Just wait a moment, my assistant will be here soon." Chen Lian refused to eat the lunch boxes provided by the crew. The food in the lunch boxes was very unpalatable. When filming, he endured hardships when he should. Chen Lian was not willing to eat the hardships he shouldn't eat. It's just that the people who came to deliver the food were not Chen Lian's assistants, but Li Bingbing. When Li Bingbing came in and saw someone else in the room, he couldn't help but scolded himself for being too conservative. He might as well take the initiative as this little girl. "Why are you here?" Chen Lian asked, looking at the thermos box Li Bingbing put down. Li Bingbing said with a smile, "I made a nutritious meal for Li Shui today. She was worried that you wouldn't be able to eat well on the set, so she asked me to make more and send it over." Chen Lian nodded and said, "Li Shui is interested. This assistant is really good, even if he is not with him, he will always remember his accusations." When Li Bingbing saw that Chen Lian had no suspicion, he couldn't help but feel happy and gave his sister extra points. "Awesome." Li Bingbing took the initiative to open the lunch box and said to Chen Lian with a smile, "Teacher Chen, give me all your meals on the set in the future. My craftsmanship is pretty good." Chen Lian took a look at the dishes. They looked really good, but he still shook his head and said, "Forget it, it won't be good when Mr. Chen joins the team." Li Bingbing and Hu Jing's expressions froze at the same time. Yes, there is another beauty Chen. Li Bingbing felt a sense of urgency in his heart. He had to speed up the attack on Chen Lian, otherwise he would really not find the opportunity after Chen Myron joined the group in 2 days. Capture Chen Lian within 3 days. There's one more chapter a little later. It's too late to get off work tonight. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 419. Chapter 405 403. Accompanying you is like accompanying a tiger. In Hong'an Advertising Company, Li Shui was sitting in front of her office, suddenly feeling an inexplicable palpitation in her heart. Li Shui put down the document in her hand and rubbed her temples. She just pretended that she had not had a good rest and had nothing else to think about. She was so annoyed recently. Every time she wanted to distinguish between the advertising business and the film and television business, Chen Myron would use the excuse that the two businesses overlapped too much to prevent her from getting involved. She couldn't even see the accounts until now. In terms of artist management, things went smoothly. Li Dabai didn't make things too difficult for him, but he didn't stand up to help him either. He took a completely neutral stance. Li Shui took a look at Chen Myron's office, breathed a sigh of relief, and decided to take a break to calm her mind. Li Shui took out the books that Chen Lian was reading before and sat there to read them. Some of the things in the books were indeed very useful. Every time Li Shui reads a book, combined with some of Chen Lian's previous methods of doing things, she gains a lot. After reading for a while, Li Shui stood up and walked towards the financial office, bypassing Mei Chen when she was filming in the group and directly ignored her. 10 minutes later, Li Shui came out of the finance office. There was no finance, but Li Shui didn't care. He was just putting on a show for Chen Myron to see. Her real goal is not finance, that is the most critical position in the company, and no one can move it without Chen Lian and Chen Myron's nod. Li Shui's target is the production department and the people responsible for project investment. They have a lot of say in the company. If you tell them clearly how much profit there will be after the company is split, I don't believe that they won't be moved. Li Shui is now thinking about how to split the company and continue to develop according to the subsequent plan. If Chen Lian knew that Li Shui did things this way, he would definitely be very disappointed. Sometimes, don't just think about things, but think about people. If people don't understand things, everything will be very difficult. In the rest room of Daming Palace Ci, Chen Lian was chatting with Li Bingbing about the script of Daming Palace Ci while eating. Hu Jing listened silently on the sidelines. The script she got was incomplete. She only had the script for her own role, and she had no idea what the plot was going to be. Now after hearing that Chen Lian and Li Bingbing were chatting, almost everyone died because of the conspiracy, and they were no longer in the mood to eat. Is the struggle between women so exaggerated? Hu Jing couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva, and suddenly felt that she had made a mistake by coming here today. Will he be killed like Mrs. Wei? What can I do with my small body in front of Chen Lian? Any one of his lovers can press him hard. After finishing his meal, Chen Lian wiped his mouth and gave Li Bingbing a thumbs up and said, "This dish you made is really good. It tastes just like Fang Shan." Li Bingbing blushed, knowing that he had been exposed, but he still smiled and said, "Really, I learned it from a master before. You are so kind to your sister. You even went out of your way to learn how to cook. How is she doing at the company recently? Have you ever made things difficult for her?" Chen Lian asked knowingly. Li Bingbing immediately smiled and said, "How come, Mr. Chen still supports her work? She is just a little tired every day. I will definitely not let you down." Chen Lian smiled and said nothing. He almost understood what was going on with her sudden attentiveness, but he just didn't know whether it was Li Shui who hinted at her or whether she did it on her own initiative. I hope it's the latter, otherwise I will really be disappointed in Li Shui. Chen Lian turned his head and glanced at Hu Jing, who had been in a daze without eating much, and suddenly raised his hand and knocked on the table. Hu Jing was startled and raised her head to look at Chen Lian with complicated eyes. She had just entered the atmosphere of the palace fight and analyzed what Chen Lian said to Li Bingbing. She also heard the meaning of Chen Lian's words, and she only felt that these people were too scary. Is it true that there are so many undercurrents surging over a meal? Hu Jing suddenly felt that she was cute and silly. Did her excuse for asking Chen Lian for an autograph today be seen through? Looking at Hu Jing, who was stunned, Chen Lian asked expressionlessly, "Why don't you eat it? Don't you like eating these?" Hu Jing looked at Chen Lian's expression and immediately shook her head. She put down the chopsticks in her hand and said unnaturally, "I'm full. Thank you, Teacher Chen, for your hospitality. I'm leaving now." After saying that, Hu Jing stood up and was about to leave, but as soon as she took a step, she was stopped by Chen Lian. "Wait a moment." Chen Lian's voice made Hu Jing feel a little frightened, and she turned her head to look at him stiffly. Chen Lian pointed to the posters and said, "I forgot to take your poster." "Oh, I forgot." Hu Jing quickly ran over and picked up the posters. Chen Lian looked at her and said meaningfully, "Go back and study hard. The outside is not like school, and the people outside are not like what you see." Hu Jing nodded immediately, said thank you, and ran away. When Hu Jing went out, Li Bingbing glanced at Chen Lian, suddenly sighed and said, "It would be great if I could meet someone like Mr. Chen to give me guidance when I was in school." "What? You've suffered a lot." Chen Lian looked at her with a smile and said, "You hadn't graduated yet when we met." Li Bingbing blushed, changed the subject and asked, "Teacher Chen, why did you order that little girl?" "It's nothing. When I saw her, I thought of Mr. Zhou." Chen Lian said lightly. Li Bingbing said, "Oh, she was quite envious of Mr. Zhou. She also heard about what happened on the set last night, but Chen Lian left Chen Myron there and took Mr. Zhou out for a big dinner. It would be nice if he could ask Chen Lian to treat him to a big meal anytime. A big meal with money would definitely be different." Li Bingbing remembered that Li Shui had told him before that Chen Lian spent thousands of dollars on a bottle of wine when he was in the United States. "Matter. I'm so envious of such a life. That's tens of thousands of dollars worth of wine. What does it taste like when I drink it?" Li Bingbing was just dazed for a while. When he looked up again, he found that Chen Lian had disappeared. "Huh? Where did he go?" Li Bingbing wanted to slap himself. Why did he miss this opportunity again? Chen Lian has already gone out to film. There are still a few scenes with Hui Niang left to film today. After filming the scenes with Hui Niang, the scenes with typing will follow. After filming a few more scenes in the afternoon, Chen Lian called it a day, but he didn't wait until Beauty Chen came to pick him up. Chen Myron is currently working overtime in the company. In the afternoon, Li Shui met with several senior executives of the company. She felt a little uneasy and they were talking to each other again. When Chen Lian went back to take off his makeup, Li Bingbing showed up again. This time he didn't bring a thermos box, but waited for Chen Lian to take off his makeup and invited him to dinner. "Teacher Chen, didn't you say that the rice I cook is similar to that made by Fangshan's chef? I'd like to invite you to have dinner at Fangshan tonight to see if it's the same." Chen Lian looked at Li Bingbing and thought for a moment and said, "Okay, let's go and see what's different between what you do and what the master does." Chen Lian was not just for a meal, but wanted to find out whether it was Li Shui's intention that Li Bingbing came to approach him or Li Bingbing's own intention. If it was Li Shui's intention, then Li Shui's relationship with Chen Lian would be over. It would be unscrupulous to use even his own sister. Chen Lian likes people who have means, not people who are unscrupulous. The food at Fangshan now tastes pretty good, and the chef's skills are not much different from before. Today's chefs are much better than those who came later. During the meal, Chen Lian didn't mention anything related to Li Shui, and he didn't even mention that the dishes Li Bingbing had for lunch were exactly the same as Fangshan's. Naturally, Li Bingbing would not bring up this topic intentionally. What was important was that he invited Chen Lian out for dinner, and the rest was not important at all. Li Bingbing was very smart this time and seized the opportunity to pick up food for Chen Lian. He deliberately said some flattering words. He did enough homework before coming and talked endlessly about Chen Lian's works. He acted like a fanatical fan, looking at Chen Lian with eyes full of admiration and adoration. Chen Lian was also happy to cooperate with her performance. He wanted to see if Li Bingbing had any resistance or sadness. Until after eating, Chen Lian didn't see anything wrong with Li Bingbing. When he came out of Fangshan's Wang, Chen Lian turned to look at her and said, "I'll send you where you live." "Then I would like to thank teacher Chen," Li Bingbing said with a bright smile. Chen Lian opened the car door like a gentleman, which made Li Bingbing a little flattered. When he bent down to get in the car, he was still covering his chest with his hands, but after getting in the car, he looked up at Chen Lian outside the car and smiled, then put his hands on let it go. Chen Lian raised his eyelids slightly, and after Li Bingbing got in, he got into the car and closed the door, letting the driver drive. The car was very quiet, and there was no music on the car. Li Bingbing turned slightly sideways and rubbed Chen Lian with his calf a few times intentionally or unintentionally. Chen Lian turned to look at her, then chuckled and took the initiative to put his hand on her thigh. Li Bingbing stiffened instinctively and quickly came to his senses, taking the initiative to move his legs towards Chen Lian. It's a pity that Chen Lian only put his hand lightly and then took it back. Li Bingbing originally thought he had succeeded, but when he saw Chen Lian moving his hand away again, he was confused. He didn't know whether he had just warned him or encouraged him. As a result, she didn't dare to advance or retreat, so she could only keep this distance and chat with Chen Lian. The car was driving very fast, and Li Bingbing suddenly noticed that the car was not heading back to her home, but to the company. Li Bingbing opened his mouth to ask Chen Lian, but he didn't dare to ask, and finally held back. During this time, she had heard Li Shui say a lot of trivial things about Chen Lian, and she had been warned many times by Li Shui not to play tricks in front of Chen Lian. Either be as honest as a piece of paper, or be as obedient as a cat. The atmosphere in the car suddenly cooled down, and it was no longer as charming as before. Li Bingbing began to panic now, not because he was worried that he would be misunderstood by Chen Lian, but because he was worried that Li Shui would be implicated. Chen Lian remained silent. Li Bingbing's psychological pressure was increasing. He almost couldn't bear it and wanted to confess, but the car suddenly stopped. When they arrived at the company, Chen Lian turned to look at Li Bingbing and said, "I'm coming to the company to get something. You can go down with me." Li Bingbing nodded. How dare she refuse? She kept praying in her heart that Li Shui would never be in the company, otherwise she would be scolded to death. The younger sister is trying to climb up through her own efforts, but she wants to hook up with her boss to help her. This will not only disappoint Li Shui, but also negate everything she has done. Li Bingbing didn't want to disappoint Li Shui, nor did he want Chen Lian to misunderstand Li Shui. Chen Lian took Li Bingbing into the company and walked directly towards Li Shui's office. Li Bingbing was desperate at this time. When he walked to the door of Li Shui's office, Li Bingbing suddenly grabbed Chen Lian's hand and wanted to knock on the door. Chen Lian turned his head and looked at Li Bingbing's eyes full of prayer, then put down his hand and said to her, "Go down and wait for me. I won't tell Li Shui." Li Bingbing breathed a sigh of relief inexplicably, said thank you in a low voice, and quickly turned around and left. Chen Lian pushed past Li Shui's office and went in. There was no one inside, only the lights were on. He didn't have any surprises. He just sat in Li Shui's seat and smoked a cigarette. Finally, he put out the cigarette butt and left. There was no one in the company for a long time. Li Shui's office light was turned on by Chen Lian, just to give Li Bingbing a try. Li Shui's current ability and ambition deserve Chen Lian to be more serious. If she can pass the test this time, more things will be handed over to her in the future, so there is nothing wrong with being careful. In the car outside the company, Li Bingbing took her mobile phone and wanted to call Renquan several times for help, but gave up when she thought of the gap between Renquan and Chen Lian. Li Bingbing didn't think Renquan had no money or power, but felt that Renquan had no money or power. His mind is definitely not as smart as Chen Lian's, so asking is in vain. Li Bingbing was entangled and watched Chen Lian come out of the company alone. After Chen Lian got in the car, he glanced at the nervous Li Bingbing and suddenly felt that he was more pleasing to the eye. Being able to take the initiative to sacrifice for his sister was something worth appreciating. Chen Lian would not think that Li Bingbing was just trying to seduce her and get the upper hand. She had been in the company for 2 years and had had many opportunities in such a long time. Soon the car arrived downstairs at Li Bingbing's house. After Chen Lian opened the door and saw her off, he pressed the window and looked at her and said, "I had a great time tonight. I'll treat you to dinner next time I have time." Li Bingbing stared blankly at Chen Lian, then watched him raise the window and disappear from sight. "What do you mean?" Li Bingbing felt that his brain was running out. After returning home full of questions, Li Bingbing became even more stupid. "Why is Li Shui at home? Weren't you at the company just now? Why are you at home? Aren't you working overtime at the company?" Li Shui bit her biscuit and looked up at her and said, "I've been back a long time ago. Who did you hear that I was working overtime in the company?" "I'll listen." Li Bingbing stopped mid-sentence. He felt that Chen Lian was a bit scary. Did he test him on purpose just now? Finally, he said that he was very happy tonight because he saw that Li Shui was unaware of all this. Li Bingbing only feels scared now that he almost ruined his sister's future. At the same time, several words came to mind: seeking skin from a tiger, accompanying you like a tiger. I don't know how Li Shui worked as an assistant next to Chen Lian and was still favored by Chen Lian. My sister is really amazing. Li Shui looked at Li Bing's changing expressions and had a bad feeling in her heart. The biscuit she was biting was instantly crushed. "Sister, what are you doing tonight? Who are you having dinner with? Why do you look so ugly? Is someone bullying you?" Li Bingbing came back to his senses and looked at Li Shui. He smiled and said, "Who else can we talk to? Ren Quan." This guy suddenly confessed his love tonight. It scared me to death. After hearing Li Bingbing's words, Li Shui looked at her suspiciously, but didn't see anything wrong. Li Bingbing walked over with a smile and said, "Oh, don't ask. Just sit down and I'll get you a bowl of noodles. How can you eat biscuits?" Seeing Li Bingbing like this, Li Shui's suspicion dissipated. Her eyesight had not yet been perfected. Li Bingbing smiled and ordered a bowl of noodles for Li Shui, then ran to take a shower. He turned on the shower in the bathroom, hesitated for a few seconds and then dialed Chen Lian's number. "Teacher Chen, are you free tomorrow night? I know you are very knowledgeable about clothing, and I would like to invite you to see my new clothes." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 420. Chapter 406-404. The costume is broken. The humidifier in the bedroom was blowing white mist. Chen Lian hung up the phone and couldn't help but smile. Chen Myron put on a facial mask and walked into the bedroom. Seeing that Chen Lian had just hung up the phone, she asked curiously, "It's so late, whose call is it?" "A friend asked me about clothing," Chen Lian explained casually. Chen Myron said "Oh," and then suddenly asked curiously, "Is the brand you are cooperating with LV not on the market yet?" "It's coming soon. We'll wait until October to officially open in Tokyo." Chen Lian put his phone aside and said. Chen Myron asked in confusion, "Why did it take so long to prepare?" Chen Lian explained patiently, "The production process of those clothes is relatively complicated. If you want to machine produce it, you need to debug it many times. It was only recently successful." Chen Myron nodded and said, "Yes, most traditional clothes are made by hand, and mass production is really difficult." Chen Lian smiled, and as soon as he put his hand on Mei Chen's shoulder, he heard her say softly, "Can you design a set for me? Let's talk about it when we have time." "The design of this kind of clothes is quite troublesome," Chen Lian replied absently, and his right hand had already been restlessly removed from Chen Miren's shoulder. Beauty Chen immediately held down Chen Lian's hand and said, "No, if you promise me, I will give you a reward." "What reward?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Chen Miren immediately lay down in Chen Lian's ear and whispered the reward she wanted to give. "Okay, okay, you are so tempting to me." Chen Lian immediately sat up and said, "I promise you." Chen Miren smiled proudly and reached out to turn off the bedroom light, leaving only the bedside lamp still emitting a faint light. Chen Lian watched Beauty Chen run to the cloakroom and change into a bright red wedding dress. Although she didn't have the corresponding hairstyle and makeup, she was still very charming. Not long after, Mei Chen's complaints came from the bedroom. "Don't ruin your clothes. I'll have to wear them when I join the group in a few days." "No, we can't go out without Riku, can we just stay in the bedroom?" Perhaps because Chen Lian's tone and actions were not very sympathetic last night, when she got up the next morning, Chen Miren ignored Chen Lian all the time. The two of them went out together. When they got into the car and went out, Chen Mei couldn't help but pinch Chen Lian hard. Chen Lian wasn't angry either. At worst, he would go back to take revenge at night. Miren Chen went to the company, and Lian Chen went to the crew to film. However, when Chen Lian arrived on the set, he only shot a few scenes and called it a day. Although Chen Lian is the male lead, his role is far less than that of the two heroines. After all, this is a woman's drama, and men are just foils. Chen Lian is already the man with the most roles in this drama, dealing with several women. First it was Xue Xiao and typing, then Zhang Yazi and typing, then Wu Zetian, and Empress Wei and her daughter Princess Anil. In addition, there were several female characters. In short, they were very busy. After Chen Lian finished shooting a few sets of scenes, he went to take off his makeup. It was not even noon yet, so there was no need to solve lunch problems on the set today. While taking off his makeup, Chen Lian was thinking about who he should go to for lunch, Gong Li's or Lu Xiaoli's. He didn't know if Zhang Qingqing and Chen Zihan were at home, or Gao Yuan might as well go to eat braised pork. Just when Chen Lian was particularly confused, his cell phone rang. Looking at the number on it, Chen Lian knew that there would be a big meal for lunch today. After chatting with Li Bingbing for a few words, Chen Lian hung up the phone and prepared to go out for a big meal. But before he even came out of Beijing Film Studio, Chen Lian was stopped by Huo Jiankai. "I've caught you today." Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian and couldn't help complaining, "You must be too busy every day." Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai and said helplessly, "Didn't I just call you 2 days ago? You haven't shot the scene yet, and it won't start until July or August. What's the rush now? Can't you be in a hurry? It's been so long since you've read the script and you don't have any opinions. Do you really need to change it?" Huo Jiankai always felt that Chen Lian didn't find fault, and he felt unsure. Chen Lian felt that Huo Jiankai was suffering from PTSD syndrome. Didn't he just ask him to change the script twice? Do you really not believe in your wife's strength? When he saw his wife later, he went to complain and told Lao Huo to go home and kneel on the washboard. Seeing Huo Jiankai, who was a little anxious, Chen Lian didn't waste any time and said directly, "Your wife's script this time is very good. I have no objections." "Is it really good? How do you think it compares with the original work?" "Teacher Peng also thinks the script has been revised well, but I still feel a little uneasy." Chen Lian didn't even want to talk to Huo Jiankai. "The original author said it was right, but you are still struggling here. Did he hit him too hard before? This guy obviously lost his confidence." Chen Lian looked at him and said, "Lao Huo, the script is really good. Don't think too much about it. For a picky person like me, if you have any questions, I will definitely tell you directly. You have decided on the location, and I will go find it after I finish filming the Daming Palace poem. Can you do it?" Then it's agreed. Huo Jiankai felt relieved and grabbed Chen Lian, who was about to leave, and said, "When will your 1 million arrive? Let's have a drink together at noon." "You go find Chen." Chen Lian paused for a moment, looked at Huo Jiankai and said, "Wait until I return to the company in the afternoon to urge you, and I will ask someone to find you later. I still have something to do, so I won't eat any more. We'll talk later." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he ran away. Huo Jiankai touched his chin and looked at his back. He couldn't help but shake his head. He always felt that he was not busy with business. After thinking for a while and having no answer, Huo Jiankai simply went to the Daming Palace CI studio to find Li Xiaohong. They were old classmates, so he came just in time to have a look, and asked her how she tricked Chen Lian into filming Daming Palace CI. Huo Jiankai was really curious. How could someone like Chen Lian come to film such a TV series? He was not short of money and didn't need a TV series to become famous. It was really strange. After Chen Lian left Beijing Film Studio, he went directly to Kunlun Hotel. "Today we have Western food for lunch, and we can also find a room to take a rest after eating. It serves multiple purposes." Li Bingbing dressed very carefully, and the close-fitting black dress highlighted her figure very well. Chen Lian couldn't help but light up when he saw it. Chen Lian is a frequent visitor to Kunlun. As soon as he entered, the manager came to greet him. When he ordered food in the Western restaurant, the manager personally served him. Li Bingbing followed Chen Lian without daring to say anything. After listening to Chen Lian asking the manager to prepare the sweet, he ordered another bottle of 28,000 red wine at the restaurant and did not dare to order. The most money she has ever made so far is only 300,000 yuan. She earned it from filming an advertisement with Ren Quan. Because the advertisement was effective, the boss gave her a special reward. In addition to advertising, her salary from movies and TV series has never exceeded 28,000. Thinking that I haven't earned a meal from Chen Lian for several months of filming, the gap in my heart can't be too big. Chen Lian glanced at Li Bingbing, who was a little reserved, smiled and didn't say anything, and directly ordered for her. "The wine here is not very good. Next time you have a chance to go to my place, I'll treat you to some good wine," Chen Lian said and handed the menu to the restaurant manager. Li Bingbing forced a smile and couldn't understand why a bottle of wine was so expensive. It was simply a money grab. 28,000, 2 years' salary for an ordinary person. This is not the most expensive thing. The life of rich people is really enviable. The food arrived soon after. Chen Lian cut the steak and asked, "Do you usually like to eat Western food?" "I don't think Li Shui likes it very much." "Well, I don't eat much. I prefer Chinese food." Li Bingbing took a sip of wine and calculated in his mind that he had spent more than 800 yuan in this sip. Chen Lian looked at her and asked, "You are not as lively today as you were yesterday. Don't you like this place?" Li Bingbing immediately shook his head and said with some embarrassment, "I'm just not used to it. This wine is too expensive." Chen Lian smiled hoarsely, shook his head and said, "The price is fake. Normally it wouldn't be this expensive. It's just that there are too many rich people in the country and it's easy to make money." Are there many rich people? Why did Li Bingbing feel that everyone around him was poor compared to Chen Lian? Chen Lian didn't explain. It's already 1999 and there are really too many rich people in China. There will be more in a few years. After finishing the steak, Chen Lian took Li Bingbing to the executive lounge. After sitting down, he did not beat around the bush and took the initiative to pick up the topic and asked, "When you went home yesterday, did you say anything to Li Shui?" Li Bingbing shook his head slightly and said, "I don't want her to worry." "Worried?" Chen Lian laughed softly, looked into her eyes and asked, "Why do you think she will be worried when you are with me? In your mind, I am not a good person." Li Bingbing hurriedly explained, "No, I mean, she will be worried about me." "Okay, no need to explain, Just kidding. Chen Lian smiled and saw Li Bingbing relaxed a little before saying, because you are right, I am indeed not a good person. Li Bingbing nervously grabbed her skirt under the table, forced a smile and said, Teacher Chen really knows how to joke. Chen Lian crossed his legs and lit a cigarette, looked at her and said, I know why you approached me, but I won't help Li Shui. This is her test, but you don't have to worry, I won't help Chen Shui either, my beauty, I have always been fair in business matters. If I help her because of you, then she will lose the chance of promotion. Li Bingbing felt that Chen Lian's short words made his heart jump up and down, and his mind almost went crazy. No, then what should I do now, continue, or turn around and leave? I woke up this morning and put on makeup for 2 hours, and I felt a little unwilling. The most important thing is that Li Bingbing is not sure whether Chen Lian is telling the truth or a lie. He just feels that he is too good at playing with people's minds. Chen Lian flicked the cigarette ashes, looked at her and said, actually, I really admire you. When I went to Shanghai that year, I gave 2 business cards, one to you and one to Fan Bingbing. Got double ice. Shuangbing sounds great to you. He will definitely become the most popular star in the entertainment industry in the future. Chen Lian put out his cigarette butt and looked at her and said, I've made it clear to you. As for what you think and do, it's up to you. I'll take care of you. The building is resting. Li Bingbing looked at Chen Lian's leaving figure and felt that he was being manipulated. It was not his choice. If you have the ability, don't mention Shuangbing. If you have the ability, don't say anything. You will become the hottest star in the future. Fan Bingbing is indeed the most popular female star now, but she still doesn't know how far away from being famous she is. Today we drank another 28,000 yuan, talked about Li Shui again, and finally found her a successful case from the same period. Isn't this just naked hints and temptations? Li Bingbing is really afraid of Chen Lian now, and feels that every step he makes is planned by him. There's no other way now. Let's go upstairs. I hope to become as popular as Fan Bingbing in the future. I hope Li Shui can pass Chen Lian's test and reach the top step by step. A few minutes later, Li Bingbing entered Chen Lian's suite under the leadership of the hotel manager. After entering, he did not see Chen Lian and only heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom. Li Bingbing pursed his lips, and couldn't help complaining about Chen Lian, saying that if you let him choose, why would you take a shower first? You've got me. But now that you're here, it's useless to say anything. Anyway, you won't suffer any loss, just take a shower. Li Bingbing stood outside the bathroom, opened the shoulder straps of her long dress, and the black dress slipped off instantly, then opened the door and walked in. An hour later, Li Bingbing regretted coming in. My mouth is sore, my waist hurts, my knees are red, and they all feel swollen. Li Bingbing lay on Chen Lian. After resting for a while, he suddenly asked curiously, when, did you and Fan Bingbing have sex? Chen Lian looked at Li Bingbing, frowned and said, no, I haven't even met her a few times. Who told you that I had a relationship with her? Then why did you give her the role of returning the pearl? Because she is suitable and will take the initiative to fight for it? You both have my business card, but she was the first to call. Li Bingbing didn't know for a moment whether he had suffered a loss or gained something. After exercising all afternoon, Chen Lian left in the evening. As for Li Bingbing, she had fallen apart now and was still resting in the hotel. Before leaving, Chen Lian asked the waiter to prepare dinner for her, so she needed to make up for herself. On the way home in the car, Chen Lian called Li Shui and asked her to handle the investment for Huo Jiankai. The opportunity was given to her to get involved in the company's film and television investment and finance, and it was up to her to seize it. Chen Lian rubbed his temples, feeling that he was so soft-hearted. After returning home, Chen Lian mentioned this matter to Chen Myren, which made her very unhappy. She kept saying that Chen Lian was partial and was unwilling to wear costumes at night. But at night it was no longer up to her, she had to wear whatever she had to wear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu Xiaomao. Chapter 421. Chapter 407-405. Real and Fake Wedding. The weather was bright and spring was just right. Chen Lian and Chen Myron got up early. Today they have to rush to Wuxi, where most of the location scenes of Daming Palace were filmed. After they finish filming the location scenes there, they have to return to the capital. Originally, there was no need to go to such trouble, but Chen Lian had never been in the cast before, and many scenes could not be filmed, so it has been delayed until now. Going to Wuxi is quite troublesome. In the past few years, you could take a plane to Suzhou and then transfer to Wuxi. When Chen Lian went to Wuxi to shoot Fenjiu in 1994, he took the same plane. It's just that the airport is now out of service. There is no airport in Suzhou, and there is no airport in Wuxi now. You can only go there by car or by plane to Shanghai and then transfer there. The next day, Chen Lian and Chen Myron set off for Wuxi together. By the time they arrived in Wuxi, it was already afternoon. Chen Lian and Chen Myron arrived quickly, but so many people from the crew arrived slowly. They all came by train, and they would probably arrive in the middle of the night. There was nothing interesting in Wuxi in 1999, and Chen Lian and Chen Myron were not in the mood to go out for fun. They were taking a plane and changing trains, so they rested in the hotel and didn't want to go out. In the hotel room, Beauty Chen patted Chen Lian's hand away and said, "Be honest, I will dress up beautifully to marry you tomorrow, and I will have a good rest tonight." "Have you been looking forward to it for a long time?" Chen Lian hugged her and said, "I'm sorry I can only give you a wedding in a TV series." Speaking of this, Chen Myron suddenly said seriously, "Don't act so seriously tomorrow. Xue Xiao doesn't want to go to typing, but you can't." "I understand, take a few more pictures and we can enjoy them when we go home. Just understand. If you ask Li Xue to intervene in investment matters, I'll let you go first. It's just that they want to rest, but others don't give them the chance." Not long after they arrived in Wuxi, someone came to their door. It was the boss of Wuxi Film and Television City. After Chen Lian received the call from the front desk, he guessed why they came here. Looking at Myron Chen, who was still a little moody, Chen Lian said with a smile, "Don't say I'm partial. Now that I'm giving you a chance, the film and television city will definitely want to cooperate with us. What the film and television city lacks most is a crew to film. You go talk to him. Why don't you give me a chance? You're just too lazy to see him." Chen Myron said she was disgusted, but she had already started to dress up. Talking about cooperation needs to be more formal. Just now, I was fooling around with Chen Lian and my stockings were torn. Chen Lian feels that Chen Myron has actually done well in the past few years, but she has no specific plans for the future. Maybe it's because I've been involved in the domestic film and television industry for too long, and because of market policies, I don't have a clear plan for the future. In the end, my vision is still a bit narrow. Chen Lian is not very concerned about the entertainment industry at the moment. With the situation in China, the golden period will only come in a few years. There is no need to invest too much energy now. Now let them toss it around and treat it as exercise. Chen Myron went downstairs to discuss cooperation with people from Wuxi Film and Television City. Chen Lian simply stopped taking a break. He was so busy filming these days that he didn't pay attention to the situation of Magic Flute and Leixin. Chen Lian called one of his assistants, took the documents from Magic Flute and Leixin and read them. After reading all the documents, Chen Lian and Li Fujian made a phone call. The magic flute player did not perform well in the Asian market and sales were very low, and it was far from as popular as the European and American markets. However, it is understandable that several Asian countries have not yet recovered from the financial crisis. Wealth has been robbed. Where can we get the money to buy such expensive things? Li Fujian is now in Tokyo. When he received a call from Chen Lian, he didn't talk about work, but just asked him when he would be free. Li Fujian was actually very clear about Chen Lian's situation. He knew that he was filming a TV series and didn't even bother to say a few words to him. He didn't even listen to what he said. What was he talking about? Chen Lian held up his mobile phone and said, "I will go to Tokyo in September, but I will have a few days to rest next month. I can fly to see you. See you in Seoul next month, my father wants to see you," Li Fujian said directly. Chen Lian thought about the news he had just seen from Leixin, thought for a while and said, "No problem, I just have something I want to talk to you about. Then see you next month." After Li Fujian hung up the phone, he sat there and thought for a long time, and finally couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know when he would give up those boring things. I really don't understand what's so fun about being an actor. Being an actor is actually not fun, but Chen Lian likes it, just like some people like collecting, some people like rock climbing, and some people like playing cards. It's just the joy of life. Actors are indeed not worthy of recognition in the eyes of rich people, but this is just Chen Lian's hobby. Who would really use actors to measure Chen Lian? Actors like Chen Lian are really not alone in the industry. There are many people who act for their own hobbies. At about 6 o'clock, Chen Myron came back. Seeing Chen Lian sitting there reading a book, she walked over and leaned on his shoulder as if she was boneless. "I'm so tired." He wanted to invite us to have dinner together, but I refused. "Who needs a meal?" Chen Lian turned to look at Chen Myron and said, "Chinese people like this way of doing business, but you don't have to. Just refuse if you have to." "I know, it's not like I'm begging him. If it's beneficial, I'll cooperate. If it's not beneficial, I won't cooperate if he treats me for a month." After resting for a while, Chen Myron sat up and looked at Chen Lian and said, "I'm hungry, let's go eat, and come back to sleep after eating." "Okay, I heard that Wuxi's pork ribs, crispy eels and Tehu fresh food are all good. Let's go out and try them. The food in Wuxi is really good, much better than that in Hangzhou." Chen Lian and Chen Myron came back with full bellies. When we got back to the hotel, neither of us wanted to move much, so we just took a shower and went to bed. The person who came the next day slept in and didn't get up until noon. The crew arrived last night and went to the set this morning. The filming will officially start in the afternoon. Chen Lian and Chen Myron had a meal with Li Xiaohong at noon and then went to Wuxi Film and Television City. After the car arrived at the set, Beauty Chen immediately hugged Chen Lian and appeared intimately in front of the set. Mr. Zhou is no longer on the crew, and she will be Princess Taiping from now on. The only princess in the cast. I was disgraced by Mr. Zhou that day, and I must get it back today, otherwise I don't know what these people will say behind my back. Chen Myron took Chen Lian around the set and greeted many actors and staff. She was extremely cordial. Chen Lian was a mascot. He walked around with her and then went to the dressing room. In the dressing room, Chen Lian put on the wig again and began to change into costumes. Today's clothes were a little different from before. They were wedding clothes. Chen Lian looks good in it, and the crimson wedding dress looks very festive. This scene is actually quite interesting. Taiping happily married, but he didn't know that Xue Xiao was already married and his wife was killed, although in the end it was covered up with the body of the maid. But in the eyes of Xue Xiao's family, Taiping was like a demon that destroyed their home. Chen Lian's makeup was easy to apply and was done in a short time, but Chen Lian's makeup was never done properly. Chen Lian went to her dressing room to take a look. As soon as he walked to the door, he heard the voice of the costume designer from inside. "Why is the hem of the skirt stained? What kind of mark is that? The collar is also wrinkled. The chest is the most troublesome for this kind of clothing." Chen Myron coughed slightly and said, "I tried it on yesterday. I'm not very good at wearing this kind of clothes, so it got messed up." Chen Lian outside the door heard Mei Chen's embarrassed voice and felt quite embarrassed himself, so he simply didn't go in. Chen Lian, who was doing nothing in his wedding clothes, didn't dare to move around for fear of messing up his clothes, so he just sat on the set and basked in the sun and chatted with Li Xiaohong. The two of them were not talking about the TV series Daming Gong Ci, but about the movie Pink that Li Xiaohong made a few years ago. That film was quite good. Li Xiaohong also won the Silver Bear Award in Berlin for this film. Chen Lian chatted with her about this film purely because they had common friends in this film and they could find something to talk about. Xu Qi helped run Hongfen to international film festivals, and the film also stars He Sci-fi, who is an old friend of Chen Lian. "It's just that we haven't seen each other for a long time." Xu Qi asked Chen Lian to shoot a movie in Xiangjiang before, but Chen Lian rejected it. She asked Chen Lian to make a gay-themed movie. It would be weird if Chen Lian agreed to it. Chen Lian and Li Xiaohong chatted for a while, and then Beauty Chen got it done, and the crew immediately got busy. The bustling crowd of hundreds of extras on the set looked lively, but in fact they were just petty. Taiping was the most noble princess of the Tang dynasty, and it was hard to justify her marriage on this card. However, the conditions for the crew are here. It is unrealistic to have a larger scale. The conditions in the film and television city do not allow it. Nowadays, the film and television studios in China are all small and insignificant, and they are just waiting for director Chen De to make more movies and build more houses. Chen Lian thought that this was a bit funny. In 2 weeks, Gong Li would go to Cannes with director Cheng. This time, his attempt at Cannes would fail again. Thinking about it, I feel sorry for Gong Li. She worked with director Cheng several times and went to Cannes 3 times, but she never won an award. Chen Lian was thinking about going to the Cannes closing ceremony to give Gong Li some comfort, and fly over with the eldest princess to give her a surprise. I hope it can appease her feelings about the failure of the movie. The messy thoughts in Chen Lian's mind were put away when he heard Li Xiaohong shouting to get ready. He had to be more involved, otherwise Chen Myron would not want to play with the stroller at night. After the wedding ceremony and music started, Wu Zetian and Jiao Zong appeared together. They personally sent Taiping off to marry. Although this was not in line with etiquette and history, Chen Lian didn't bother to say anything. If I really have to find fault, there are so many faults with this show. Chen Lian is now playing either Xue Xiao or himself. He doesn't have to worry about whether he will fit in or not. He just wants to give Chen Myron a wedding. Chen Lian stood in front of the city tower, watching the bride-to-be escort team slowly walking towards him. He felt really nervous. It would be really scary if this was true. Covering her red hijab, Chen Myron could vaguely see Chen Lian's figure. Even though she knew it was a fake, she still couldn't help but feel happy. Today she will finally marry you. Several leading actors in the crew and Li Xiaohong had all been greeted by Chen Lian and knew that the first 2 scenes today would not be too serious, so they did not act with the emotions of the characters in the play. Even the part that was supposed to kowtow to Wu Zetian and Jiao Zong was removed. Gui Yele did not show Wu Zetian's momentum to force Xue Xiao to promise anything. Instead, he really said some caring and happy words to Chen Lian like an ordinary mother. After some red tape, Chen Lian walked up to Beauty Chen, reached out and slowly lifted up her red hijab. A small face with delicate makeup and a smiling face suddenly appeared in front of Chen Lian's eyes. Beauty Chen's eyes were really full of happiness and expectation, and it didn't look like she was acting at all. Chen Lian took Myron Chen, surrounded by a group of maids, and helped her get into the car. Then he rode a big horse with a red hydrangea on it and walked toward another set. Sitting in the car, Beauty Chen was still waiting for the director to shout, but after waiting for a long time, she didn't wait. She only heard Chen Lian, who was riding beside her, saying, "This is a complete wedding." Chen Myron's eyes suddenly turned red. She raised her hand and gently touched the corners of her eyes. She pursed her lips and looked at Chen Lian and nodded seriously. In the high hall that had been decorated for a long time, Chen Lian and Chen Myron kowtowed to each other and performed the ceremony of husband and wife. When Chen Lian raised his head, Mei Chen's eyes were filled with tears. Chen Lian raised his hand and gently brushed the corners of Chen Myron's eyes and said, "Don't cry, today is a happy day." Chen Myron held back tears and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Today is my happiest day. I will be happy in the future." Chen Lian held her hand and said softly. Chen Myron nodded lightly, and was led by Chen Lian out of the set, and got into the car that had been waiting outside with a happy sign on it. Chen Lian and Chen Myron left the film and television city. They were going to complete the last step of the wedding. As for the people on the set, they should eat and drink. The food and wine at today's wedding banquet are all real. Chen Lian is not a stingy person. Let them be happy. Even if the wedding is fake, the hearts of the two protagonists are true. Many people on the set were confused. Is the crew so grand? The food and wine are all real, so there's no need to continue acting, just start eating. Is this a filming or a real wedding? Many local people from Wuxi who came to join in the fun and act as extras couldn't help but murmur in their hearts. Li Xiaohong and Gui Yele sat together and ate, and said with some emotion, "Although Chen Lian is a little, he is also very thoughtful." Gui Yele said with a smile, "I hope Beauty Chen will like this wedding." Chen Myron naturally liked it. Although it was different from her imagination, everything today fulfilled her wish. She and Chen Lian still had a wedding, and it was the only one. "I will give him some rewards tonight, and also tell him not to take on any dramas with wedding scenes in the future. Chen Lian cannot marry other women, not even for acting. She wants to be the only one." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 422. Chapter 408-406. Walking hormone. The spring sunshine is very warm, but Chen Lian feels that Beauty Chen in his arms is even warmer, like a gurgling stream in spring, and as soft as the round white clouds in the sky, which makes people want to stop. Chen Myron stroked Chen Lian's cheek and said happily, "I'm so happy." "Me too, it's just a pity that I can't give you more." Chen Lian looked at Beauty Chen and said softly. Chen Myron hugged Chen Lian and said, "I am very happy now." Chen Lian gently rubbed Mei Chen's smooth back, as if to express his apology. After yesterday's wedding, the relationship between Chen Mei and Chen Lian has taken a further step. There may have been any conflicts or knots in the past that have been let go at this moment. When they came to the set hand in hand and full of sweetness, they also received the envious eyes of many people. Regardless of whether yesterday's wedding was real or not, such behavior was romantic. It's just that most people don't know that romance and happiness are far less important than loyalty in love. The modern concept of love and morality understand love more as romance. The shots that were not completed yesterday were shot again today. This time everyone became serious. It took a whole day to shoot a wedding before it ended. After returning to the hotel in the evening, Chen Myron leaned tiredly into Chen Lian's arms and said, "I haven't filmed for a long time. I feel so tired. What do you think of my performance?" "It's very good. It showed Taiping's longing for love and innocence and kindness." Chen Lian felt that Chen Myron's performance was really good. Maybe because the opponent was himself, she was very involved in grasping the emotions of the character. Chen Myron laughed when she heard this, stretched out comfortably, then looked at Chen Lian and said, "But your acting is not good. Xue Xiao and you are two different people." Chen Lian did not deny that there was indeed a big difference between himself and Xue Xiao. One was a person who could die for love, and the other was a person who wandered between love and desire. Completely two extremes. If you have to say who Chen Lian looks like, maybe he is similar to Zhang Yizi in some aspects. He has his own set of emotional theories for playing with emotions. He can move among different women and can easily convince any woman. It's just that Zhang Yizi relies on women, while Chen Lian makes women rely on him. In the next few days, Chen Lian quickly filmed Xuexiao's scenes, leaving only the last two scenes. One was the passionate scene where Xuexiao found out that he fell in love with typing and his attitude towards her changed, and the other was when he was unwilling to face her. The scene where he committed suicide in typing's arms after betraying Hui Niang. In Chen Lian's view, people like Xuexiao are extremely cowardly and selfish. For their own belief in love, they easily choose to end their own lives and leave the pain to others. But such a man will make women very moved because it satisfies their fantasy of loyalty. On the set, the curtains were fluttering and the candle light was swaying. Chen Lian and Chen Miren looked at each other and smiled. They both felt that they might be too involved in the passionate scene. Only Li Xiaohong, the makeup artist and the photographer were left on the set. In Li Xiaohong's script, this passionate scene was extremely important. It was an important turning point in the relationship between Xuexiao and Taiping. It was also something that Taiping could not forget after Xuexiao's death. Key. Only if Xuexiao fell in love with Taiping and told her through actions, she would be unable to forget Xuexiao for the rest of her life. The makeup artist was carefully touching up the makeup of Chen Lian and Chen Miren. The photographer next to her was still playing with the camera. She was temporarily captured to be a virgin. All the male photographers on the crew refused to shoot the scene for Chen Lian and Chen Miren. It would be too scary if something unexpected happened during the filming. At any other time, they would definitely be willing to shoot such a scene, but this is for Chen Lian and Chen Miren, who would have that thought. Chen Lian's makeup was the simplest, and it was done quickly. He walked up to Li Xiaohong and said, "There is actually no need to film this scene. Of course, I am not denying the significance of this scene, but I can't retain it even if I film it, and it won't pass the review of." Li Xiaohong shook his head and said, "It won't be as big as the conferred gods list, so there shouldn't be any problems." "Director Li, haven't you paid attention to the recent situation for a long time?" Chen Lian said seriously. "Scenes that are too passionate are not allowed. Please tighten the rules. Just pat your legs and pat your feet. Don't be so passionate." Li Xiaohong frowned and asked, "What news have you heard? Are the standards tightened now?" "Well, it has indeed been tightened recently, and it will be even tighter in the future. We don't have classifications, only one size fits all, so don't think too much about it." Well, Li Xiaohong naturally wouldn't think that Chen Lian was deceiving him. There was no need for that, and he definitely knew more about his location than he did. Li Xiaohong thought for a while and said, "Then change it. Try to use close-ups to capture expressions and details, but you must show a sense of affection and lust." Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, "I think this shouldn't be a problem." Filming of the scene soon started, with 3 cameras from different positions on the soft couch pointed at Chen Lian and Chen Miren at the same time. Beauty Chen just sat there and laughed, watching Chen Lian slowly take off his coat, leaving only a white undershirt on his body, and it was open, and his strong chest muscles were looming. Not far away, Li Xiaohong's eyes lit up slightly. Chen Lian was really sexy, much sexier than what he saw in the movie. Li Xiaohong did not forget his accusation and immediately asked the camera facing Chen Lian to do a close-up. Of course, such beautiful muscles should be seen by the female audience. Li Xiaohong touched his chin and admired Chen Lian's figure, wondering whether he should redesign the costumes of Zhang Yizi later. A slutty male favorite must be extremely confident in his own capital. There seems to be nothing wrong with wearing revealing clothes that are a little sexy and elegant. Looking at Beauty Chen, who kept laughing, Chen Lian couldn't help but said, "You are still smiling, and I have been looked down upon." Chen Myron said with a disapproving smile, "Isn't it just the chest muscles? You were completely naked in the extreme cold." Chen Lian couldn't help but knock Chen Myron's head and said, "Don't talk nonsense, you are wearing underpants." Chen Myron rubbed her forehead and said, "What's the difference? The photos Wang Xiao's Hawaii took for you are so obvious that people can't help but think about it." Chen Lian, "Only perverts can have daydreams, okay." Soon, Beauty Chen also pulled down the clothes on her shoulders, exposing her smooth shoulders, posing in a sexy pose, smiling and licking her fingers at Chen Lian. Li Xiaohong saw that the two of them were not shy at all, and couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, "You two, take it back. This is filming, not your own home." After Li Xiaohong finished speaking, several people on the set couldn't help laughing. However, looking at Chen Lian and Chen Myron on the soft couch at this time, they couldn't help but imagine what they would look like when they were really passionate at home. It must be even more sexy than now. Several female photographers could not help but sigh in their hearts. It would be great if the scale of the scene was a little bigger. I really want to shoot a sexy and passionate scene. There is passion, but it certainly doesn't work on a large scale. On the soft couch, Chen Lian hugged Mei Chen, his palms crossed her shoulders and rested on her collarbone. His slender fingers and Mei Chen's sexy collarbone appeared in the camera at the same time. Even if there were no other movements, it was enough to make her smile. People are daydreaming. In the camera, Beauty Chen's fair and slender calves are gently lifted by Chen Lian, and her small and sexy soles are held by Chen Lian. Li Xiaohong watched the scene with great emotion, but felt that something was missing, so he stopped the filming and asked the makeup artist to bring a water bottle over and spray Chen Lian's chest several times. Chen Lian lowered his head and glanced at the water droplets on his chest, which were like fine beads of sweat. They looked full of wildness and male hormones. Especially when Chen Myron's toes lightly tap on her chest, it becomes even more seductive and fragrant. Neither Chen Lian nor Chen Myron were shy, but several photographers and makeup artists nearby couldn't help breathing heavier. The beautiful man is so wet that he can't stand the temptation. I really want to focus the camera on his chest muscles. The subsequent scenes turned into Chen Lian passionately kissing and caressing Mei Chen. His hot breath lingered on Mei Chen's neck and collarbone, and his slender fingers traced across Mei Chen's fair and thin arms and waist, and finally caressed her straight white calves. Half an hour later, Chen Lian felt that he couldn't bear it anymore. He raised his hands and got up from Chen Myron. He turned to look at Li Xiaohong and asked, "The filming is not finished yet? If we continue filming, something will happen." Li Xiaohong looked at Chen Lian breathing heavily and came back to his senses. Did he take too many shots just now? But those actions of Chen Lian just now were so alluring. If these shots were released, I don't know how many young women would be able to control them. Live with yourself. Several younger photographers were all blushing at this time. To be precise, their eyes were red. They wished they could drag Beauty Chen down and replace her so that Chen Lian could touch her boldly. Touch it however you want. Men are horny, and women are even hornier. When you have a handsome face, a sexy figure, breath full of male hormones, and caressing movements full of desire, it is simply more unbearable than a piano movie. The highest level of astringency is never revealed, and human fantasy is the best drug. Chen Myron also sat up with a blush, pulled her clothes back on her shoulders, and exhaled gently to suppress the throbbing in her heart. But the eyes he looked at Chen Lian were full of desire. He just wanted to end the scene quickly and have a good time. Li Xiaohong felt that the filming was almost done, so she called it a day. However, she could not forget the scene she had just taken in her mind. She was suddenly able to understand Wu Zetian. Li Xiaohong sighed in his heart, and suddenly thought that Zhang Yizi, played by Chen Lian, would have to film this kind of scene with several actresses. Would those actresses fall directly? In the past, when filming such scenes, People in the industry were worried that the male actors would not be able to control themselves. Now Li Xiaohong is a little worried that the actresses will not be able to control themselves. Li Xiaohong glanced at Chen Miren and thought that it would be better to take those shots for Chen Lian when Miren was not around, in case something happened. After finishing work, Chen Lian and Chen Miren looked at each other, quickly got dressed, and then left hand in hand without looking back. Several photographers were so eager to see Chen Lian and Chen Miren still wearing costumes that they felt like a ball of fire was burning in their hearts. They really envy Chen Miren. If they were men, they would definitely envy Chen Lian. But they could only be envious, as Chen Lian and Chen Miren quickly disappeared from the set. Late at night in the Daming Palace of the film and television city, in a remote palace, Chen Lian and Chen Miren hugged each other and completely let go of their hands and feet. Both of them were frantically asking for each other. The costumes were soon scattered all over the floor, and indescribable sounds soon came from the empty palace. I don't know how long it took, but Chen Miren and Chen Lian came out of the palace. Chen Miren covered her chest with her costume and looked at Chen Lian complainingly and said, "You can't be more careful. If someone sees me now, I'll be doomed." Chen Lian looked at the dark Daming Palace and said, "What time is it? How can there be anyone there? You are still wearing my clothes. It's all your fault anyway. Rude. Didn't you ask me to use force?" Chen Miren immediately blushed and punched Chen Lian and said, "Don't say it anymore. If anyone hears it, you will lose face." Chen Lian. Women also have the state of being sages. The next day, those girls couldn't help but gossip and told others about last night's filming scenes, almost describing Chen Lian as the sexual and sadistic god of choice. Many people couldn't help but be curious and secretly watched Li Xiaohong. Material tape. Of course, those who could see the material were all of some status, especially several actresses who would later play opposite Chen Lian, all of whom went to see the tape under the pretext of wanting to know their opponents. Li Xiaohong originally didn't want to show it to them, but he thought it would be better to show it to them first to get familiar with it, so as not to be unable to resist Chen Lian's charm later. Chen Lian and Chen Miren didn't know about this. They were busy filming the subsequent scenes. Today is Xue Xiao's last scene. When Xue Xiao fell into Taiping's arms, his gentle and guilty eyes instantly made Taiping shed tears. She regretted it extremely now, but it was already too late. Her lover died in her arms. Miren Chen was really immersed in it, and her tears seemed to flow down. After Li Xiaohong shouted, Chen Lian stood up and hugged her to coax her to calm down her emotions for a while. Chen Lian gently wiped away her tears and said, "Why are you crying like this?" Chen Miren looked at Chen Lian and shook her head gently, without saying what kind of emotion she had just entered. Xue Xiao is finished, but Zhang Yizi is about to go online. Many people in the crew are looking forward to Zhang Yizi's release, except Chen Miren. If possible, she hopes that Chen Lian will always play Xue Xiao, the man who is loyal to love, rather than a prodigal and careerist who lazily wanders among women. In the hotel, Chen Miren packed her things and said to Chen Lian, "I'm going back to the capital. I'll come back after you finish filming the scenes with other people. There are a lot of things in the company. If I don't go back, Li Shui will ignore me. Be careful on the road, I will finish filming as soon as possible and let you come back," Chen Lian said with a smile. Chen Miren suddenly put down the clothes in her hands, looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, "Although you are playing Zhang Yizi, you are not allowed to be Zhang Yizi on the set, and don't hook up with those actors, otherwise I will lose all face." Chen Lian said speechlessly, "Don't worry, it won't happen. I trust you, but I don't trust others. I don't know how many people want to have a one-night stand with you. How can people be so unreserved? This is the entertainment industry. Don't underestimate yourself, and don't underestimate those people. I didn't send it out yesterday, so I can only send it out again now." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 423. Chapter 409-407. The Patriarch of the Tang Dynasty. In Wuxi Film and Television City, Chen Lian was wearing a light gray light robe. The gauze-like clothes had beautiful poems written on them. There is no complete inner garment in this suit, not even a belt. When walking around, the robe will be lifted up and flow backwards, making it look like it is not worn at all. Chen Lian felt quite helpless. Li Xiaohong planned to use himself to sell meat and attract female audiences, right? But Zhang Yizi's character is indeed like this, so he won't say anything. The only trouble is that he can't go out for a walk in costume now, otherwise there will be little girls watching him wherever he goes, whispering and pointing, as if they want to come over and tear his clothes to pieces. He's so handsome. I thought Xue Xiao's outfit was handsome enough, but I didn't expect Zhang Yizi to be even more handsome. He's so sexy. If I were in typing, I would definitely choose Zhang Yizi. How can Xue Xiao be as good as Zhang Yizi? It's better for a man to be a little bad. He's really charming. Chen Lian silently took out the magic flute player, put on his headphones and listened to the song. Did these little girls speak so loudly on purpose to attract his attention? Too lazy to talk to them, Zhang Yizi slept with princesses, queens, and concubines. How could he fall in love with a few palace maids? Chen Lian listened to the song and looked at some of Zhang Yizi's lines in the script. He felt that this guy was really the best, the founder of the Tang dynasty. Chen Lian liked the few words he used to fool typing very much, and it almost burned typing CPU dry. What is the difference between happiness and mediocrity? Happiness is accidental and short-lived, that's why it is so powerful and worth cherishing. And once it becomes a habit, you will eventually feel numb and ignore its taste. To protect yourself, I don't want to become another habit in your life. This sentence means that I don't want to stay together forever, I don't want to be responsible, I just want to sleep with you. The most beautiful form of love in my imagination is not only the joy of staying together, but also the longing when parting and the forgetfulness and joy when we meet again. It even includes the short-term regret of not being able to make an appointment on time, and I find it in you after all this, princess, you let me experience true passion and happiness. This is exactly the love I want. This sentence tells typing that you don't understand love, but this is love. Come, let yourself go with me. Whether I will always be satisfied, I don't know, but my current status brings me a kind of freedom, and freedom is exactly what I expect. It is the most important and indispensable element in my life. I know you may despise it. All this, but this is my current state of mind. Please respect it, princess, it is a part of me, and it should also become a part of your love. If you love me, you love everything about me. My playfulness and debauchery are also part of me. You can't accept my playfulness, but you still have the nerve to say you love me. Bah, scumbag. Chen Lian was reading the script when Li Xiaohong suddenly came over, sat next to him and said, "What do you think of the character Zhang Yizi?" Chen Lian turned his head to look at her, pulled off his headphones, shrugged and said, "It's okay." Li Xiaohong said with a smile, "Actually, I originally wanted to find Jia Hongshen, but then I thought about it and you were the most suitable. Have you worked with him a few times? He is a very good actor, but didn't you say that he was unwilling to act in costumes and rejected you?" "No, I didn't even look for him. I just had this idea when I first wrote the script. But after the script was written, I felt that you were the most suitable." Chen Lian twitched the corners of his lips. Did Myron Chen deceive him before? But it doesn't matter, what else can I say after having already acted? Li Xiaohong looked at Chen Lian and said curiously, "After this drama is broadcast, you may be scolded, or you may gain many fans. Are you worried that the role of Zhang Yizi will affect your reputation?" Chen Lian said nonchalantly, "Do you think I need to worry? Now who wouldn't say I'm a philanderer?" A character like Zhang Yizi is not likable. Many people in this era are unwilling to play villains, but Chen Lian himself is synonymous with playfulness, and he doesn't care about the audience's evaluation of him. Li Xiaohong couldn't help laughing, and deliberately patted his shoulder and said, "Then I won't worry about it. I hope you can show your true colors. Let's go and get ready to start filming." "Don't take advantage of me," Chen Lian joked and stood up and walked towards the set. Li Xiaohong looked at his flowing gown on the ground from behind, feeling a little pity in his heart. There are quite a few people who feel it's a pity. In the play, Mrs. de Rengi's MRSRU appeared and fooled around with Zhang Yizi. Unfortunately, there weren't many scenes. She just hugged Zhang Yizi a few times and it ended. The same was true for Wei Shi, who had an intimate scene with Zhang Yizi. During the filming of the passionate scene, he deliberately flirted with Chen Lian, but did not get any response. Chen Lian had a headache. He had to film with different women every day. One moment he was serving Wu Zetian, the next he was having an affair with MRSRU, and then he had to hook up with Princess Wei and Princess Anil. Chen Lian still admires Zhang Yizi. Weishi and Princess Anil are mother and daughter, Taiping and Wu Zetian are also mother and son. Weishi and Taiping are still best friends, Princess Anil and Taiping are aunt and nephew, and they have private meetings with MRSRU every day at de Renge's house. This is simply audacious, worthy of being the founder of the Tang dynasty. When filming these scenes, it was inevitable to cuddle and move. Fortunately, Chen Lian paid attention to propriety when acting, but none of the actresses were restless. When I was acting opposite Chen Lian, I always failed inexplicably. I either forgot my words or was too involved. Among so many actresses, only teacher Gui Yele and Chen Lian were very serious in their scenes, and they were basically the same. These actresses seriously delayed the filming progress, which meant that Chen Lian didn't have that many scenes, and the crew focused on filming Chen Lian's scenes, so Chen Lian didn't get angry. Everyone is so unprofessional. After finishing filming the scene with Princess Anil that day, Chen Lian was still thinking about filming a few more scenes, but was stopped by Li Bingbing. "Teacher Chen, please finish the work as soon as possible. The shooting intensity is so intense now that everyone on the crew has objections." Princess Anil was played by Li Bingbing. Chen Lian looked at Li Bingbing in palace clothes, sighed and said, "The filming is too slow now. I'm going to South Korea next month and I don't have time to waste time here." Li Bingbing couldn't help but smile and said, "Who makes you so handsome? I want to take more photos with you." "Then why don't you want to?" Chen Lian replied angrily. Li Bingbing leaned into Chen Lian's ear and whispered, "Because I can take my time filming with you at night." Chen Lian looked at her funny and said, "Now you are bolder again. Aren't you afraid of being seen and complaining to Beauty Chen?" "I'm just talking to you. I'm not the only woman on the crew who talks to you every day," Li Bingbing said playfully. "If you want to sue, then sue all the women on the crew." Chen Lian, "What you said makes sense." After arriving at the hotel in the evening, Chen Lian had just finished taking a shower when he heard the sound of the door opening outside. Li Bingbing secretly opened the door quickly and came in, then closed the door again and subconsciously patted his chest. He felt that these days had been too exciting. "I sneak around every day, deeply afraid of being discovered by others." Chen Lian told her that she could do it openly, but she was unwilling to do so because she was afraid that exposing her relationship with Chen Lian at this time would affect Li Shui. Chen Lian looked at Li Bingbing, who was looking like a thief, and couldn't help but shook his head, but it didn't matter if she didn't want to be exposed, and it saved the effort of explaining to Chen Myron. Li Bingbing looked at Chen Lian, who had just finished taking a shower, couldn't help but licked his lips, and rushed over. After hugging Chen Lian and kissing him for a long time, he said, "If other people see it, they will definitely envy me." Chen Lian lifted Li Bingbing's chin and said, "Shouldn't you envy me? My Princess Anil. Then let them envy, Yizi, Love me. Li Bingbing looked at Chen Lian emotionally. The two immediately fell in love with each other. Under such circumstances, Li Bingbing was still acting dedicatedly. Yazi, it's better for me or my aunt. Do you like mother or me? Haha. Yazhina is my mother. How could you? I have to say that Li Bingbing is really dedicated to his acting. Because of this dedicated attitude, even if others were holding back, Chen Lian quickly finished filming most of Zhang Yazi's scenes in the next few days. 2 weeks later, Chen Miran came back, and Zhang Yazi trained her. Phew, the brainwashing of typing began immediately. Chen Lian didn't feel anything about these scenes, and Chen Miran didn't feel anything either. They usually played more elegantly than this. Even Zhang Yazi's words, Chen Lian didn't know how many times he had told Chen Miran. Zhang Yazi is a madman, a man who plays with women to satisfy his inner desire for power, and at the same time he is a charming man. This kind of role is not difficult at all for Chen Lian. The innocent and loyal Xue Xiao in the front was played very well by Chen Lian, and the crazy Zhang Yazi in the back was played even more brilliantly by Chen Lian. The crew all doubted whether Chen Lian was acting in his true colors. After arriving in Wuxi and filming continuously for a month, Chen Lian finished filming. Zhang Yazi failed in his rebellion and was stabbed to death by Taiping's sword. Chen Lian was so happy that he finally didn't have to act out. God knows how it felt for him to stand in front of the camera every day, as if he had been stripped naked. On the night of filming, Chen Lian packed his things and left. I'm leaving. You can take your time filming on the set. Chen Miran looked at him and said coquettishly, can't you stay with me? I'm going to finish the movie soon. Chen Lian rubbed Chen Miran's head and said, it really can't be done. I have to go to Seoul to deal with the magic flute matter. It will take about a week. Let's meet in the capital then. Then you are not allowed to leave tonight and stay with me. I have all the tickets. Before Chen Lian could finish his words, Chen Miran grabbed the vital point and then surrendered obediently. Alas, it's difficult for men too. The next morning, when Chen Lian was waiting for his flight at Shanghai airport, Li Shui appeared. Chen Lian glanced at her and asked, has the matter over there been settled? Li Shui nodded immediately and said, it's taken care of. After Mr. Chen wraps up the deal, I will have a formal showdown with her. Chen Lian nodded, looked at Li Shui who was a little tired and said, your method is too mild, and it took so long. The most important thing is that you didn't understand the core of this matter. After the company is split, first stay calm and stop planning later. A trace of disappointment flashed in Li Shui's eyes, and she squeezed out a smile and replied, okay, I will continue to study in the future. Chen Lian waved his hand and said, the film and television industry in the mainland is actually very simple. It is a circle made up of relationships and connections. Before it enters the capital stage, the company is actually an empty shell with nothing to learn. It's useless for the company to invest in so many dramas now. It's not even a producer, it doesn't have a signature, and it can't even talk about brand management. As long as the key people are caught and the money is available, the company shell can be changed in a month. It won't affect you at all. After Chen Lian said a few words, he stopped talking about this matter. It was just a trivial matter in itself. It wasn't that Li Shui couldn't understand it, but it was just that he was a little too serious with Chen Miran before. Li Shui probably understood the meaning of Chen Lian's words. After reviewing his behavior, he felt that he had really taken the wrong path and took the company too seriously. Now I have figured out that my plans are not suitable for the mainland film and television industry, at least not yet. After Li Shui figured it out, she looked at Chen Lian and said, I'm sorry, Mr. Chen. I considered it based on foreign models before and did not combine it with the actual situation in the mainland. It's okay. What you are thinking is correct, but it's still too early now. Chen Lian glanced at the time and said, when you go to South Korea this time, you may read more news. It may give you some inspiration. Li Shui nodded. Although he didn't know what Chen Lian meant specifically, he still remembered it in his heart. After the financial crisis, South Korea suddenly announced that it would develop the entertainment industry in an all-round way and turn it into one of the pillar industries, and then introduced a series of policies. This decision is actually quite interesting. Many people think it is because South Korea lacks resources. The country is small and has nothing to offer except eating kimchi and forming girl groups. If only things were really that simple, there must be American capital interfering behind this matter. They are really good at cultural invasion and plunder. If you control the cultural industry, you basically control the future of young people, and you can brainwash them however you want. Chen Lian had a lot on his mind at this time. After getting on the plane, he was still thinking about whether he should increase his investment in the cultural industry in the future. Li Shui watched Chen Lian remain silent and did not dare to ask. She was still analyzing the policies of the domestic film and television industry and planning what should be done in the next few years. It wasn't until the plane was about to land in Seoul that Chen Lian turned to Li Shui and said, "This time, you should analyze the Korean entertainment industry carefully. I will take a test on you after you return to China. If you pass, I will add more value to your plans." Li Shui's eyes lit up and she said immediately, "Okay, Mr. Chen." "Well, do your best." After Chen Lian said this, he suddenly remembered something and turned to her and said, "By the way, book me a ticket to Cannes in 5 days." Li Shui knew that Chen Lian was going to see Gong Li, so he immediately agreed. Chen Lian looked at Seoul outside the window of the plane and suddenly thought of Li Bingbing. He raised his eyebrows and said, "By the way, your sister's film will participate in the Venice Film Festival this year. You can go with her then." Li Shui was stunned for a moment, then bit her lip after a while and said in a low tone, "I understand, Mr. Chen. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 424. Chapter 410-408. Practical application of scumbag theory. The weather in Seoul was not very good. Before the plane landed, there was light rain in the sky. Li Shui looked at the water droplets falling and being blown away on the window of the plane, feeling that her mood was the same as the sky outside. When did my sister get together with Chen Lian? Why didn't she tell herself? Is it because of my sister that I was handled lightly by Chen Lian this time? The most important thing is how to face Chen Lian in the future. Li Shui turned to look at Chen Lian's side face, feeling very bad. The hazy sky outside was really hard to like, and Li Shui sighed quietly. Under the hazy sky, a plane from China slowly landed at Seoul Airport. Li Fujian wore sunglasses and looked at the slowly landing plane, and his mood became much better. Chen Lian saw Li Fujian below the moment the cabin door opened. He did not expect that she would come here to pick him up. The airport pickup was quite grand. Behind Li Fujian stood more than 10 people wearing black suits and holding umbrellas. As soon as Chen Lian got off the plane, Li Fujian came up to her and was followed by a person who held an umbrella for her. Chen Lian hugged her gently and said with a smile, "Why do you make it so formal? I have just arrived. This is sent by my father, which shows that he attaches great importance to you." Li Fujian smiled and said in a low voice, "I am also showing you Sangzhen's strength. Shouldn't I value you?" Chen Lian withdrew his hand from Li Fujian's waist and said seriously, "There is no way to value outsiders and not your own people." Li Fujian said helplessly, "I am indeed here to pick you up." Chen Lian held Li Fujian's hand and said, "I value you, so I won't go. You can take me to dinner. I haven't had dinner with you for a long time." "Okay, it's okay, I'm used to it," Li Fujian said sweetly, pulling Chen Lian into the car sent by Sangzhen. After leaving the airport, The car went straight to Itaewon, which is a gathering place for Korean rich people. The most expensive house here belongs to Lee Kun-hee. Chen Lian remembered a piece of news he had seen before. This house later seemed to be worth 250 million yuan, or so. The most expensive house in South Korea. Compared with the later courtyard houses in China with starting prices of more than 200 million yuan, the Sangzhen family's mansion is not that scary. After Chen Lian got out of the car, he looked at the house in front of him and felt that it was just average. The area was not big, more than 1,000 square meters at most. Li Fujian smiled and said to Chen Lian, "What do you think of this place?" "It's pretty good." "Is this the place where you grew up?" "Next time you have a chance, you must visit it and listen to the stories of your childhood," Chen Lian said with a smile. After hearing this, Li Fujian smiled sweetly and felt that Chen Lian was really good at talking. It's hard not to love such a person. Behind a window on the second floor of the mansion, Li Yingxin looked at Chen Lian downstairs, feeling happy but also sad. "My love has not yet sprouted, and the man I have a crush on has become my brother-in-law." Next to Li Yingxin stood her mother. She looked at Chen Lian's handsome face and couldn't help but nodded, feeling that her daughter had really good taste. For a family like theirs, a handsome man is worthless and not even a bonus, but a handsome and capable man is different. Downstairs, Li Fujian led Chen Lian inside and whispered, "My father is more serious. If you say something unpleasant, please don't mind." Chen Lian smiled and felt that Li Fujian had really changed. He even learned to turn his elbows outward. Perhaps the magic flute gave her too much confidence, allowing her to have a voice in this family and no longer having to rely on pleasing others. Chen Lian was taken to a reception room by Li Fujian and met Li Jiangzi and Li Zhejiang. Both of them looked serious. Li Fujian was the first to speak. "Father, eldest brother, this is my partner Chen Lian." "Hello, President Li." Chen Lian stretched out his hand to Li Jiangzi and said. Li Jiangzi looked at Chen Lian, but did not extend his hand for a long time. Li Fujian's expression changed next to him. Just as he was about to speak, Li Jiangzi slowly raised his hand and shook Chen Lian. Chen Lian didn't take Li Jiangzi's scrutiny to heart. He turned his head and glanced at Li Zhejiang before looking away. Li Zhejiang was originally ready to say hello to Chen Lian, but he was so angry that he dared to ignore me. Chen Lian ignored Li Zhejiang's ugly expression. "I'm talking to your dad, kids, don't interrupt. If your dad embarrasses me, I will embarrass you. Who can't pretend to be like this?" Li Jiangzi looked at the scene with a normal expression. After sitting down, he said, "Please sit down." Chen Lian frowned and turned to look at Li Fujian. What did this little old man say in Korean? There is no international spirit at all. If you don't know Chinese, do you still know English? Li Fujian understood what Li Jiangzi meant. This was a hint that she could stay. In the past, she was not allowed to stay on such occasions, so she whispered to Chen Lian, "Please sit down." Chen Lian nodded and sat opposite Li Jiangzi. Li Fujian also took the opportunity to sit next to Chen Lian. Li Zhejiang was the only one standing in the room. Li Zhejiang took a deep breath and sat aside, then looked at Li Fujian and said, "Fujian, go get some tea." A flash of astonishment flashed in Li Fujian's eyes. While he was dazed, he heard Chen Lian asking in Chinese next to him, "What did he say?" Li Fujian said with an ugly face, "Let me pour tea." Chen Lian frowned and reached out and patted Li Fujian's knee gently. Li Fujian, who was about to stand up, stopped again and sat there without moving. Li Zhejiang watched the scene and scolded Li Fujian deliberately in English, "Didn't you hear what I said? When did you become so unruly?" Li Fujian couldn't help but squeeze her hands tightly on her knees, and the anger in her heart could hardly be controlled. She was no longer the Li Fujian she used to be. Why should she treat herself like this? Chen Lian stretched out his hand and gently held Li Fujian's hand, then looked at Li Zhejiang and said, "This gentleman, Chairman Li invited us here, and he also asked the guests to pour tea. This is Sangzhen's way of hospitality. Deo. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he looked at Li Jiangzi, not even bothering to look at Li Jiayong. Li Jiangzi looked at the scene expressionlessly, then waved his hand and said, "You all get out, and you are not allowed to come in without my order." Li Jiayong and Li Fujian looked at Li Jiangzi at the same time, and finally they all bowed their heads and said yes and stood up to go out. However, when Li Fujian stood up, his hand was held by Chen Lian. Li Fujian turned to look at Chen Lian and saw him staring at his father and saying, "Fujian and I are partners, and we will advance and retreat together." Li Ziyang, who was about to walk halfway, also stopped and looked at Chen Lian with a hint of surprise in his eyes, but he couldn't help but want to see Chen Lian's ending. He had never seen anyone so strong in front of Li Jiangzi. Except for those on Wall Street. Li Jiangzi squinted at Chen Lian, and then said to Li Fujian, "Fujian, go see your mother, she and Yin Xian are waiting for you upstairs." Hearing Li Jiangzi's words, Chen Lian let go of his hand, looked at Li Fujian and said, "You just came home, so go see your family first." Li Jiangzi talked to Li Fujian as his father, so there was no need for Chen Lian to treat it with a business attitude. Li Fujian bowed to Li Jiangzi, and then whispered to Chen Lian, "Behave well." Chen Lian nodded. He was a little confused now as to what Li Jiangzi's attitude was towards him. When looking at his future son-in-law, he still regarded Chen Lian as Li Fujian's partner. There is a big difference between public and private. After Chen Lian watched Li Fujian go out, Li Jiangzi suddenly spoke. "No need to perform, you don't love Fujian at all." Chen Lian turned his head and looked at him in surprise and said, "I didn't say I loved her, we are just close partners." Li Jiangzi's eyelids twitched. He didn't expect Chen Lian to answer him like this. Chen Lian looked at Li Jiangzi and said seriously, "Love is just a short-term pleasure, and interests are the real binding." Li Jiangzi tapped his fingers on the sofa slightly, looked at Chen Lian and said, "You are different from what I thought. I always thought you were just a lucky speculator." "My luck is not as good as Li Jiayong," Chen Lian said lightly. The atmosphere in the room was not very good, but the atmosphere outside the reception room was even worse. Li Jiayong was getting angry at Li Fujian. "Axie! How dare he ignore me? Is this what you rely on? I can shut down his magic flute at any time." Li Fujian looked at him coldly and said, "You can try, and that's not his magic flute, it's mine and his magic flute." After saying that, Li Fujian left, leaving Li Ziyang alone and furious. In the reception room, Li Jiangzi and Chen Lian no longer had the initial confrontation, but instead chatted about business matters together. He's not just some kid hiding under his father's wings, so he won't get upset over trivial things. Chen Lian came here to discuss cooperation with Sangzhen. He is planning to enter the mobile phone industry, and Sangzhen is a very good partner. Sangzhen's mobile phone industry has only been established for a few years and has no time to enter the Chinese market. Now it also looks down on the Chinese market. This is an opportunity for Chen Lian. In a few years, the Chinese market will become bigger and the economy will take off completely. Sangzhen will fully enter the Chinese market. At that time, Chen Lian will not have such a good opportunity. Chen Lian and Li Jiangzi chatted in the room for a long time. Li Fujian, who was accompanying his mother and sister on the second floor, was always absent-minded, fearing that Chen Lian and Li Jiangzi would quarrel. Li Yingxin looked at Li Fujian, who had been distracted, took her hand and asked, "Are you worried about Mr. Chen?" Li Fujian turned to look at Li Yingxin and said shyly, "He and his father are both very strong people." Li Yingxin nodded. She knew how strong Chen Lian was. At first, just because her sister wanted to close her visit to the art exhibition, she dared to directly block Sangzhen's people during the financial crisis. Thinking of this, Li Yingxin couldn't help but wonder if the situation would be very different now if she hadn't taken her sister there. Maybe she would be the one worried about Chen Lian today. Li Yingxin suddenly lost interest in talking and sat there in a daze. Li Fuchen noticed her mood and couldn't help but sigh. Has she not forgotten Chen Lian? She has only seen him a few times. As evening approached, the conversation in the reception room came to an end. Li Jiangzi looked at Chen Lian and said, "We've finished talking about cooperation. Now maybe we should talk about things between you and Fuchen." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and said, "Isn't it too early?" Li Jiangzi ignored Chen Lian's attitude and continued, "I have investigated your matter. I know all about your lovers and children. After you and Fuchen get married, you can handle all these things. I don't like others to interfere in my life. I don't want to get married yet, and I think Fuchen is the same. This is the condition. I'll think about it, but I've also made a lot of concessions in this cooperation. Should Sangzhen's sincerity be shown? I didn't care about your lovers and children, I just gave in." Chen Lian looked at Li Jiangzi. He didn't expect that the little old man investigated so carefully. He just didn't know whether he was worried about Li Fu's happiness or for something else. But there is a high probability that it is the former. Although Li Jiangzi does not want Li Fuchen as his heir, he definitely has feelings for his daughter. Chen Lian looked at Li Jiangzi and said, "Cooperation is business, marriage is a private matter. I hope we can separate." Li Jiangzi shook his head and said, "You should think about it carefully." Chen Lian sighed silently in his heart. The woman's family's good conditions can sometimes be a trouble, but she still needs to think carefully about what to do about this matter. In the evening, Chen Lian, as Li Fuchen's boyfriend, had dinner at Li's house and then left. Li Fuchen was originally going to send Chen Lian to the hotel, but was stopped by her mother, who obviously received instructions from Li Jiangzi. After returning to the hotel, Chen Lian and Li Fuchen talked on the phone and talked about what happened in the afternoon, whether it was the content of the cooperation or the forced marriage. Chen Lian looked at the brightly lit night scene outside, sighed and said to the phone, "I don't like to treat feelings as a transaction. It disrespects you and disrespects love. It's like a business marriage. I use you to do it, tie me up." Li Fuchen on the other end of the phone was silent. Although he felt that what Chen Lian said was unreasonable, there was some truth in the unreasonableness. Didn't the family plan to get her married before? Now it's just that the marriage partner has been replaced by the person you like. To a certain extent, the difference is not very big. Chen Lian did not hear Li Fuchen's reply, and said in a low voice, "I originally thought that by putting you on a high platform and letting everyone see your abilities, your father would take you seriously, but I didn't expect that it would end up like this." Ending. I decided to give up cooperation. I have other backup plans. I gave up electronic products and went all out on the internet. I must make you a strong businesswoman that everyone respects, instead of being an appendage of a family that can be used as a product for marriage at any time. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 425. Chapter 411-409. Do you need to draft a spokesperson to find a spokesperson? In the quiet bedroom, Li Fuchen listened to Chen Lian silently, his eyes slightly red. She knew that Chen Lian was lying to her. After Chen Lian left, Li Jiangzi told her what Chen Lian said in the afternoon. Love is just a short-term pleasure, and interests are the real binding. Therefore, Li Fuchen knew that as long as he nodded, Chen Lian would give up cooperation and would not force him to beg his father. But she is willing to listen to such lies. At the very least, Chen Lian will work hard to complete the lies he tells and make the lies become reality. He said that he will make herself a strong woman that everyone respects, and he will definitely do it. Li Fuchen was silent for a long time. Just when Chen Lian was about to hang up the phone, she suddenly said, "I will make it clear to my father that we are just partners. The cooperation with Sangzhen will continue to be completed. After saying that, Li Fuchen hung up the phone and sat there in silence for a long time, without even noticing Li Yingxin coming behind him. "Sister, what's wrong with you?" Li Fuchen raised his hand to wipe the corners of his eyes, turned around and said with a smile, "It's okay, I'm just a little tired." "Why haven't you rested yet?" Li Yingxin sat down and hugged Li Fuchen and said, "Dad asked me to accompany you." Li Fuchen was startled for a moment and remembered what Li Jiangzi said to him after dinner. There are many kinds of cooperation. Marriage is also a kind of cooperation. You have to recognize its essence. Chen Lian on the other side put away the phone and looked at the night scene outside, silent for a long time. Li Shui, who was sitting behind him, also looked at Chen Lian silently, thinking about what the highest level of lies was. She had no doubt that what Chen Lian just told was a lie, and she had no doubt that Chen Lian was telling the truth. Things that should be black and white are different here with Chen Lian. After a while, Chen Lian turned to look at Li Shui and said, "Contact Leixin and let them continue to promote cooperation with Kejian. The conditions can be relaxed if appropriate." Li Shui immediately responded, "Okay, Mr. Chen." "Okay, you go and rest." Chen Lian waved his hand and rubbed his temples tiredly. Seeing Chen Lian like this, Li Shui hesitated and said, "Mr. Chen, would you like me to help you relax? I often do it to my sister." Chen Lian was stunned for a moment and said, "Forget it, you have been busy all day. Go back and rest." "Okay, I'm going back then. Please take a rest and call me anytime if you need anything." Li Shui breathed an inexplicable sigh of relief, took her things and left. Chen Lian sat on the back of his chair and thought about which path Leixin Electronics should take in the future. It would be great if starting a career was as easy as acting. Chen Lian sighed silently, took a shower and went to bed. In the next 2 days, Li Fuchen didn't come to see Chen Lian, and only talked to Chen Lian once a day. Chen Lian was not idle either. Regardless of whether he could cooperate with Sangzhen in the end, he couldn't be idle now. The current situation of Magic Flute in the Asian market is not very optimistic. It has been almost 2 months since it officially entered the Asian market, and there is still no improvement. It is mainly Li Fuchen who is trying to clear up the copyright issue of the music library of Magic Flute music website in the Asian market. Without the support of the music website, Magic Flute sales will also be greatly affected. Now that Magic Flute music is almost done, Magic Flute player still needs to find a way to open up the market. South Korea's economy has fully recovered. Although Japan's vitality has been severely damaged, its consumption level is gradually recovering. At this time, a wave of publicity must be launched. Chen Lian has been looking for new spokespersons in the past few days. Hollywood stars are very popular, but in Asia, we still need to find local stars. Japan, South Korea, Southeast Asia, and Hong Kong all need spokespersons to promote our products. There is no need to think about it in Xiangjiang, just go to the princess directly. Japan and South Korea are more troublesome. Chen Lian didn't know much about Japanese and Korean singers, so he really didn't have a suitable candidate for a while. The lack of a suitable candidate here doesn't mean that he couldn't find a well-known one, but the most suitable one based on comprehensive considerations. Magic Flute is an electronic product of the new era, and most of its consumers are young people. The choice of spokesperson must naturally fit this group. Chen Lian has been looking through the investigation reports from Magic Flute in the past 2 days, looking at the information of various singers, and only has a few potential candidates in his mind. In Japan, Ayumi Hamasaki just debuted as a singer this year. Her first album sold over 1 million copies. The sales of her second album 2 months later are even more terrifying. The most important thing is that Ayumi Hamasaki is fashionable. Master, very suitable to be the spokesperson of the Magic Flute. Originally, Chen Lian also thought about Quan Shui, but Quan Shui had been out for too long and was not very suitable to be the spokesperson of the Magic Flute. Magic Flute's positioning is young, growing together, and fashionable. Quan Shui has been out for too many years and lacks freshness. After much deliberation, Ayumi Hamasaki is the most suitable, and Ayumi Hamasaki is very sexy and fashionable, and is also very influential in the Japanese fashion circle. Whether it is outfits or songs, many young people follow her. Chen Lian decided on the spokesperson for Japan, so he was a little worried about Korea. There are not many influential singers in Korea, and even the current influence of male and female groups is not that good. There are quite a few movie stars who are popular, but it has nothing to do with music. Chen Lian spent a long time choosing, but there were not many that caught his eye, so he simply gave up and asked Li Fujian to pay attention to it. This was her territory and she would be able to quickly win over even if she chose a newcomer. As for Southeast Asia, Chen Lian decided to wait for a while, hoping that the princess would take the lead, and then look for the unpopular singer Sun Yanzi to be the spokesperson. This girl will not debut in a few months. After Chen Lian made his decision, he immediately asked someone to contact Hamasaki. As for the princess, she could just call and say it. After receiving the call, the princess lost her temper and said, "You will only think of me when something happens. When will you come to Xiangjiang? If you come and invite me in person, I will represent you. I haven't had time recently, when will you return to the capital?" Chen Lian asked. The princess thought for a while and said, "Any time, you don't come to see me, so I have to go see you. Then we'll climb Xiangshan Mountain next weekend." "No, I'm exhausted." "Oh, I'm talking about your two Xiangshan Mountains. Don't you mind them being small? Small things are fun." After Chen Lian hung up the phone with the princess, Li Fujian came not long after. After not seeing each other for 2 days, Li Fujian looked quite haggard. Chen Lian felt quite distressed when he saw her. Li Jiangzi was so cruel to his own daughter. What about negotiating a business deal? Sangzhen wouldn't suffer. Chen Lian rubbed Li Fujian's shoulders and said, "If it doesn't go well, don't talk about it. I have asked the domestic side to promote cooperation with Kijian. Although it is not as good as Sangzhen, it is enough as a starting point." Li Fujian, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and said, "You must have deliberately spread the news about your cooperation with Kijian, in order to tell my father that you have other options, but Kijian is not a good choice, and they have just started." Chen Lian said with a smile, "It's not important. Leixin is just starting out now. This kind of cooperation partner is what we need. At least it won't put forward so many conditions like Sangzhen." Li Fujian raised his hand to hold Chen Lian's palm, placed it on the side of his face and said, "I'm so tired. My father is unwilling to give in. Since you have other plans, give up cooperation." Chen Lian said without any hesitation, "Of course, I don't want you to wrong yourself. There are many ways to make money, and we can make it happily." Li Fujian leaned in Chen Lian's arms, rubbed his face against his palm, and said after a while, "I lied to you, my father agreed to cooperate." "You begged him? He has conditions, right?" Chen Lian held Li Fujian in his arms and said distressedly, "Don't wrong yourself, we won't cooperate." Li Fujian listened to Chen Lian's heartbeat, slowly raised his head and looked into his eyes and said, "There are no conditions." He said, "This is my dowry." He asked himself to think clearly. Chen Lian was silent for a moment, rubbed Li Fujian's head, held her in his arms and said, "I've wronged you." Li Fujian enjoyed Chen Lian's embrace, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't get the promise that should come later, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. "I know that this bitch man is not willing to commit to marriage, but he will definitely make up for it elsewhere." Li Fujian thought well, and Chen Lian said as expected, "The shareholding ratio of this project will be tilted towards you. This is what you deserve." Li Fujian was both happy and disappointed. He stayed in Chen Lian's arms for a long time without speaking. When she came to her senses, she didn't know where her clothes had gone. She couldn't help but give Chen Lian a blank look, and bit down hard with her small mouth open. Chen Lian suddenly took a breath of cold air and grabbed Li Fuchen's hair to try to let her go. But when he pulled back, Li Fuchen bit forward, and then it turned into pulling back and forth. In the end, Li Fuchen wanted to retreat but was pushed back by Chen Lian. After a long time, Li Fuchen spit out the contents of his mouth into the trash can, rolled his eyes at Chen Lian and said, "I almost choked to death." Chen Lian explained awkwardly, "Aren't you recuperating your energy these past few days?" Li Fuchen rinsed his mouth, and looking at Chen Lian who was still energetic, he couldn't help but kick it. He was recharging his energy, wasn't he? He was full of energy, wasn't he? I'd have to stomp on him and throw him up. Li Fuchen sat on the chair, put his feet together, and stepped on it. While stepping on it, he raised his chin and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Call me Mr. Li, no, call me the Queen." Chen Lian looked at Li Fuchen like this and suddenly said, "My dear wife." Li Fuchen stopped immediately, looked at Chen Lian blankly and said, "Say it again." Chen Lian looked at her and said softly, "My dear wife." Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian with his mouth shut, and suddenly threw himself on him, hugged him, and kissed him wildly. Chen Lian responded to Li Fuchen's passionate kiss and silently praised Daming Palacii in his heart. The role of Zhang Yizi was not in vain. After a long time, both Chen Lian and Li Fuchen lay down tiredly to rest. After talking about love for a while, they got down to business. The most common topic they talked about together was their career. For the Korean spokesperson, "I will go back to Sangzhen's company to find a potential newcomer." Li Fuchen raised his head and looked at Chen Lian and asked, "But we should choose a global spokesperson. How about Xiao Tiantian as the global spokesperson?" Chen Lian nodded and said, "Okay, in that case we will have to choose an Asian spokesperson, but if we announce it to the public, we'll have to wait until the launch of the new phone in October. Who should I choose as the Asian spokesperson? That Ayumi Hamasaki? Or your old lover, the Princess?" Li Fuchen pinched Chen Lian as he spoke. Chen Lian's mouth cracked in pain, and an idea flashed in his mind, "How about we hold a competition?" Competition? Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian in confusion. Chen Lian immediately said, "A talent show. A large-scale talent show across Asia. It's like Miss Universe. In the end, singers from several countries compete together, and Magic Flute sponsors the whole process. You can reach the highest level of popularity in one go." After hearing what Chen Lian said, Li Fuchen felt that it could really be done. If the operation was successful, it would definitely become popular throughout Asia, and the Magic Flute would become a household name overnight. Li Fuchen sat up and looked at Chen Lian and said, "This is a great idea, let's do it." Chen Lian smiled, then looked at her and said, "Is there any reward? Are you coming again?" "Let me rest for a while." Li Fuchen immediately softened, hugging Chen Lian like an octopus and not giving him a chance to get up. Chen Lian rubbed her head helplessly, "You still want to get married with this fighting ability, how can you handle it? The idea of a talent show is really good, but the organizer of such a show must have sufficient strength. If it is just a TV station, it will definitely not work. Chen Lian and Li Fuchen can definitely work together, and if they follow the Miss Universe model, they won't have so much trouble. But such a large-scale event is not easy to organize. The partners in each country, the specific events and schedules, the scale, etc. all need a capable person to take overall control." Chen Lian's first thought was Cheng Shifen, but Cheng Shifen doesn't have that much time now, and she is also busy with this year's Miss Universe competition. It is definitely possible to be the president, but she must be equipped with a capable assistant. After Chen Lian and Cheng Shifen finished talking on the phone, their eyes fell on Li Shui. Li Shui knew that Chen Lian and Li Fuchen were planning to hold a large-scale talent show across Asia, and he immediately got ready when he saw Chen Lian's eyes. Chen Lian looked at her and said, "Are you confident? This is not a small company. If you are under pressure, I will find someone else." Li Shui originally wanted to say that there would be no problem, but looking at Chen Lian's serious eyes, she felt less confident. Seeing her like this, Chen Lian said, "Forget it, I'll think about it again and see if there is anyone from Sister Shifen who recommends me. You should prepare first and take the Miss Universe charter to study it." Li Shui was a little annoyed that she didn't live up to expectations. Why not give it a try? Now she might not have a chance even if she wants to. Why don't you give your sister a call? Li Shui couldn't help but blush when she thought of this. If Li Bingbing was the one blowing pillows, he would have to come over and sleep with Chen Lian. Li Shui felt that there was always an illusion of selling out her sister, and she felt guilty. If I had known earlier, I would have made the move myself. At this time, I would just do the pillow style by myself, so there would be no need to find a middleman. It's troublesome even if the middleman is my sister. When Li Shui returned to her room, she rolled twice on the bed, pounded the bed with both hands and shouted, "I'm so annoyed. Why are you trying to fight with me?